If it's Friday night, say yeah for It's Strictly Sports. Hello, friends. Anthony Floyer here with you for another edition of Strictly Sports. Glad to have you with us. Michael Bowles will be coming in late. He had some commitments he needed to take care of, but as soon as he comes in, we'll catch him up on what he missed up to that point. So, for the moment, I am joined by Girl MF Michael Fletcher. So, we're not going to beat around the bush. We have a lot of stuff to get into. So, I want to try to get it done as quickly as we can because there are two things that I really want to get into tonight. That being our previews of both the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs and the NBA playoffs. So I want to get into both of those, try to, you know, go into detail on those. So and also we're going to have our final NBA power rankings as well for this season, and then we'll starting next week and going forward, it will be all about the Major League Baseball power rankings for a good 4 months or so before we start up our football coverage again in a few months. So, all right. So, with all that being said, let's dive right on into our first story of the week, which is well, what we're gonna do. We're gonna do something. We're gonna do something a little different here. We're not gonna go one at a time about this. I really want to get into, let's get into both of these, at the same time. NBA, well, I should say NFL hot stove. There's two NFL hot stove stories that we have to address. Um, we can make an argument for a third, if you will, but it was not on the docket, so we're just gonna let that one be. First off, we're gonna talk about Brandin Cooks. Brandin Cooks was traded to the Los Angeles Rams, and and of course after that we're gonna get into Robert Griffin III going to the Baltimore Ravens. So Brandin Cooks, the Rams acquiring Brandin Cooks in a fourth round pick in a trade with the New England Patriots. Rams are sending their first round pick in the upcoming draft, which is a 23rd selection, and a sixth round pick to New England, according to the announcement. And Brandin Cooks lands on his second new team in as many years. Being dealt from the organization that acquired him in the offseason, of course. So it was sorely missed in the latter stages of Super Bowl 52. Had a 65 catch, 1,082 yard season that included 7 TDs. And, Snead, the owner of the Rams, I mean, this Cooks deal is the latest move by Snead to stock his contending team with proven talent. Most of that occurred this offseason on the defensive side, but Cooks now stands to make LA's offense a complete threat that is fully capable of taking advantage of Jared Goff's arm. And unlike most frequently dealt players, this move isn't a knock on Cooks, but instead a team swapping one asset for another to fit its needs. Tom Brady is losing his best yards per catch target in his career. Cooks averaged 16.6 yards. And New England is now armed with multiple first and second round picks, which sounds like the right pile to toss into discussions to move to potentially select a QB. And Brady might be battling time, but the calendar doesn't move backward. And with the departure of Jimmy Garoppolo, the Patriots appear primed to pick Brady's successor. And that selection could be made in a position game by packaging some of the aforementioned picks, or it could be one pick spent on a quarterback considered a second tier prospect in this class. For example, Oklahoma State's Mason Rudolph. And New England can instead use the other picks to address needs elsewhere, which are numerous after multiple players left via free agency. Either way, the Cooks deal creates flexibility, which has always been key to Bill Belichick's team building process. So that's my thoughts on the Brandin Cooks trade. And from there, Robert Griffin III going to the Baltimore Ravens, and we're gonna get in. We're gonna find. Get into this here. He spent last year in exile, and now he's getting another shot, his third shot at the NFL. The former Heisman Trophy winner and number 2 overall pick in 2012 agreed to a 1-year deal with the Baltimore Ravens. He will step into the backup role behind longtime starter Joe Flacco, who's set to enter his 11th year. And it could make for an interesting arrangement, given Flacco's game revolves around operating from the pocket, whereas Griffin's greatest asset has always been the threat of his mobility. Griffin parlayed his athleticism into Offensive Rookie of the Year honors in Washington, wherein he produced a dazzling array of highlights in an offense coach Mike Shanahan tailored to him. But a knee injury late in the season provided a major setback for RG3, who was never the same after that. And of course, we all know that story with the whole Shanahan situation. We're not going to, get into that nonsense. And he ultimately lost the job to Kirk Cousins, and then was washed out after another injury-plagued season in Cleveland with the Browns in 2016. And now healthy, he gets another chance with a team that could help him rehab his game and perhaps afford an opportunity for him to shine if Flacco struggles from 2017 resurface. So that's really all I can say on that one as well. So nothing really more to say. I'm going to bring in Mr. NFL on this one. Good old MF Michael Fletcher and MF. I mean, Brandon Cooks going to the Rams. Clearly they're all in. And then from there, RG3 going to Baltimore. So what do we think about both of these hot stoves?
Well, first off, about the Brandon Cooks, I even said it on my Facebook about a week ago that, yeah, I absolutely agree. This was an all-in move. This was them basically they're going for it. The Los Angeles Rams are going for the Super Bowl. They want to make it to the big game. They want to play for the championship, and they got a stout defense. They got a good running game, a pretty good quarterback. Now they just got themselves a home run hitting of a wide receiver to complement with the crews that they got going in. So no doubt in my mind, this was definitely an all-in move. It's going to be interesting to see how this team plays out and works and develops. But I mean, they are definitely not only, I think they are the perennial favorites to win the NFC West again, but now they put themselves in a situation where they very possibly could be a contender in the NFC, period. To probably come out of the NFC and play in Super Bowl 53. So, I mean, this is a very, very, very interesting situation and a big moment for them. So, yeah, absolutely all in on that. And I wish them nothing but the best. Now, as far as Robert Griffin III goes, we're going to have to wait and see. I don't know. I mean, he has been out of the league for a little bit. He had a little bit of some issues in Washington. A lot of people really felt that, whatever you may feel is what you feel. Then, yeah, he didn't really have a successful campaign. I believe he was in Cleveland. And normally when you go to Cleveland, your career ends up dying over there. So now he's going up with, a really good team with the Baltimore Ravens as a backup. So, the expectations is going to be a lot more lower than they were, in Washington. Because back in the day, as a number 2 overall pick, you're now considered a franchise player. So now they're trying to make this a really big deal, a really big career for him. We'll wait and see what happens. But, this is going to be a very interesting event, no doubt about it. We're just going to have to wait and see. So, as far as RG3 goes, it's good to see him back in the league. I wish him nothing but the best. But the expectation, like I said, is a lot more lower than it was when he first came out from the University of Baylor. He was the Heisman Trophy winner. There was a lot of expectations for him, and to be drafted at this high of the ranking at number 2. So we'll wait and see what happens now. But, it's going to be fun. So nothing more to say. Anthony, it's all yours.
Kyrie Irving will miss the rest of the regular season and playoffs in the aftermath of left knee surgery. I believe he underwent another procedure to remove 2 screws from his patella that were inserted in 2015 to repair a fracture he suffered during that year's NBA Finals. And the team said a bacterial infection was discovered at the site of the screws when Irving had his most recent surgery on March 24 to remove tension wire in the knee, and that Saturday's procedure will ensure no infection remains. The wire had been placed in his knee during the same surgery in which the screws were inserted in 2015. The Celtics said Irving's patella is completely healed and remains structurally sound, and Irving is expected to recover fully in 4 to 5 months. Okay, so MF, as I start this off with you here, oh man, I mean, we knew he was going to be out for the rest of the regular season, but now he's gone for the postseason as well. I don't like their chances against Milwaukee coming up.
I think they will get by Milwaukee. That's nothing to worry about. He'll get by Milwaukee. They're not getting out of the second round, though. I don't see them coming out of the second round because they're the two. The three's Philadelphia. If Philly does their business and they win and they go to that next round, I actually got Philadelphia going to the Eastern Conference Finals. I actually am trusting the process. I got Philly knocking out Boston in that next round. So obviously we'll get into that, down the line whenever we do. But honestly, this was a bad situation. We knew it was going to be only that he was going to be out for the remainder of the regular season, but now to know that he's out for the entire season, that it hurts because that's a major injury that now they got to deal with, and more than anything else, now it's what do you do next? Who's got to step up? And now you're looking at Rozier, you're looking at Jason Tatum, you're looking at all these guys now. They have to step up more than anything else. It went from being basically the perennial favorite to win the Eastern Conference and go to the NBA Finals. Now you're looking at them thinking, oh man, what's about to happen now? So we'll see what happens. Bad situation, horrible situation, but, nothing more to say. So, Anthony, it's all yours.
The loss of Irving is a devastating blow for Boston's hopes of competing for the Eastern Conference Championship. The Celtics are the number 2 seed in the conference, and they will square off against the Milwaukee Bucks in the first round of the NBA playoffs starting this Sunday, and we're going to get into that in a little while. Irving, who last played in the game on March 11th, averaged 24.4 points, 5.1 assists, and 3.8 rebounds this season, his first in Boston. Of course, Boston acquired Irving in a blockbuster offseason deal with the Cleveland Cavaliers. It was reported that the Celtics were gonna sign free agent Jonathan Gibson. He played for Boston's Summer League squads in 2012 and put up big scoring numbers in China earlier this year. The 10-day contract of Xavier Silas, originally signed via Boston's injury hardship exception, expired. I think that expired as well. The Celtics are still without guard Marcus Smart. He had right thumb surgery in March. He's hopeful to be able to return sometime early in the playoffs. Smart has been working out at the team's practice facility with protection over his right thumb as he recovers from surgery. The Celtics are hoping to have a firmer grasp on the potential return timeline next week. Celtics president of basketball operations, Danny Ainge, has stressed that he does not expect Smart to be available in the first round. The Celtics odds dropped from 20-1 to 80-1 to win the NBA championship, and from 9-2 to 20-1 to win the Eastern Conference. So, it is a devastating blow. And Matt, if you think they can get by Milwaukee, I'm not so sure, because remember who Milwaukee has: a Greek freak by the name of Giannis Antetokounmpo, who I think is going to gobble up that Celtic defense, and I think he's going to have some big games in that series. So we'll see we'll see how we feel about that series coming up when we get into our NBA playoff preview as part of our big triple main event tonight, which is the Stanley Cup playoff preview and the NBA playoff preview, and of course our final NBA power rankings of this season. So there's really nothing left to say on that. So we're just gonna move right into our next story, which is of course March Madness. Of course, came and went, and for the second time in 3 years, the Villanova Wildcats are your national champions. They win the NCAA tournament. They knocked off Michigan in the national championship game by a final score of 79-62. So that gives Nova their second title in 3 years. And of course, with Nova winning, that, much to my delight, brings the national championship back home to where I personally think it belongs, the Big East, and let's talk about it. I mean, Nova, Villanova, of course, was the number one seed in the East region. I believe they were the second overall seed. But the only one that was seeded higher was, of course, Virginia. And we all know what happened to Virginia. They were the victim of the biggest upset in the history of the tournament and the history of sports, as we agreed upon last month when that went down. But every win by Villanova in this tournament was by double digits. The closest margin of victory was 12, twice. So the first round, they had an easy time with Radford, knocked them off 87-61. Second round, and another easy win, 81-58 over Alabama. And then in the regional semifinals, a 90-78 win over West Virginia. And then in the regional final, they defeated Texas Tech 71-59. And then in the Final Four, a 95-79 beatdown of Kansas. And then, of course, the 79-62 win over Michigan for the national championship. And it was announced that Dante DiVincenzo was voted the Final Four's most outstanding player, and rightfully so. I mean, he had games, but I got to tell you, this was the most down. I'll be honest. We've only been covering the NCAA tournament for the better part of almost a quarter century. I mean, we started covering the tournament right around 95, 96, and we didn't really fully get into it until like right around 97, and that's when MF and I, true story, used to clip the we would used to clip brackets, blank brackets from our local newspaper, the Projo. Of course, those days are long gone. Of course, now with well, of course, obviously the internet and social media and the whole nine yards. We would. I honestly don't print brackets anymore. I just I don't have printer capabilities. But anyways, what we do have, of course, nowadays is, of course, our CBSSports.com Strictly Sports Bracket Manager group. And despite all of our brackets being busted, I wound up winning. Hard to believe. And I play by the rules. Just let's let you know, I did not make any changes whatsoever. We just played it by ear. And when the scores were tallied, somehow, some way, I wound up winning the thing. Unbelievable. I defeated Michael Bullock was my closest competitor, and I beat him by only 3 points, 81-78. But nonetheless, in all the years we've been covering the NCAA tournament, a better part of, I want to say now, 20 years, over 20 years, since 97, that's when we really started getting into it. I don't think I've ever seen a more dominant championship performance than that of Villanova. I mean, how could you not be impressed with what Villanova did in this upcoming in this particular NCAA tournament? An overall record of 36-4, and my God, I mean, they were so fun to watch. I mean, with the dominance and everything else. I mean, the 3-point records. I mean, they set a record for most 3-point buckets made. I mean, the 3-point shooting, that was really the difference. And, just so fun to watch. And, they are going to lose a couple of key cogs, Chris Jenkins and Josh Hart. Well, I think they lost them already. But of course, Jalen Brunson was the Big East Player of the Year, and they only lost 4 games all year long. December the 30th, they lost at Butler. February 7th, they lost at home to St. John's. On Valentine's Day night, they lost to PC at the Dunk. And then February 24th would end up being the last time they would taste defeat when they lost at Creighton. After that, they wound up they won 11 in a row. The final 2 regular season games against Seton Hall and Georgetown, and then they won the Big East tournament, defeating Marquette, Butler, and Providence. And then, of course, you already know what I just told you about, what they did in the NCAA tournament. So just absolutely impressive. And I've never seen, like I said, a more dominant performance in a particular NCAA tournament than that of Villanova. I mean, with the 3-point shooting, the defense, and I mean, honest to goodness, I don't know how. I can't even there are no words. That's all there is to say. There are no words to this that I could use to describe the dominance of Villanova in this NCAA tournament. I mean, the closest margin of victory, 12. If your closest margin of victory is 12, whoa, that's all there is to say on that. And Dante DiVincenzo was the difference maker in that championship game. 31 points off the bench. And the 3-point shooting, like I said, just absolutely mind-boggling. So I'm going to try to get more information on that in just a moment. But while I do, I'm going to toss it over to MF. I know how badly you wanted your ACC to get a championship there. 9 teams. They had the most bids of any conference. Your conference did. My Big East only had 6. But nonetheless, it's a Big East team that wins it. It's Nova, second time in 3 years. And MF, in all the years we've been covering the tournament, 21 years, I don't think I've ever seen a more dominant championship tournament run than that of Villanova. No team was more dominant, MF. Come on. Have we ever seen a more dominant performance than that of Nova in all the years we've been covering this thing? Since like 97. So MF, let's get your thoughts on this. Villanova winning the national title second time in 3 years. Dominant performance all the way. Never more dominant performance. Unbelievable.
Yeah, no, this has to go down as, one of the more easier roads that they've ever had to go through. And, you could talk about maybe UNLV, the way they ran through their national championship run in 1990. That I could think about, some other teams, Indiana, when they ran through theirs in I believe it was 1983, when they ended up winning the national championship. That was an unbelievable performance. Now you're talking about all the recent years. I don't think there's one team that I could think of that was more dominating in at least covering our legs in our time, that we saw where one team really just ran out, dominated, and did what they did. I think UConn did that once with Kevin Ollie. I remember them winning a national championship, and that was a dominating performance. Duke in 2001, even though they kind of dragged themselves through the carpet early in the Final Four game, but they were able to win the national championship in convincing fashion over Arizona. If you remember, it was a 10-point win. So but from beginning to end, what was the one thing I said? I said that Villanova had the most easiest road to the Final Four, and I was absolutely right about it. I was completely spot on about my feeling about that. Then I kind of thought that Kansas was going to be the one to trip them up because, Kansas had that fight with Duke, and it was an emotional war. It was a battle. They were war tested. And we saw what Villanova did to them. They absolutely just wiped the floor with them in the Final Four. I was there on courtside watching the game, and I was just marveling at the unbelievable performance that was happening. So Nova won this. Nova deserved it. They definitely going into it. We didn't know what to expect. I kind of had a feeling that they were going to be a real legit threat because of how easy their bracket was. But the way they played, man, they were definitely destined to be the national champion. So well done, Villanova. Congratulations on being the national champions. And now it's on the next year, and already teams that already are stacking up. They're talking about Duke. They're talking about Kansas right off the bat. So 2018 was a really good year. The 2018-2019 season, oh my, I can't wait. So nothing more to say. Anthony, it's yours.
Before we move on, I do want to get into some quick numbers here for you. I already mentioned that Villanova finished with a 36-4 record, a 900 winning percentage that is better than any other national champion this decade, save 2012 Kentucky. Villanova won every tournament game by double figures, the first team to do that since North Carolina in 2009. They set a record for three-pointers made in the season with 464. Listen to this, MF. 6 players who shot at least 385 from three-point range, with 5 who made at least 55 three-pointers, including the player who effectively was their center in Spellman. The Wildcats redefined greatness for the modern era. So those were the key numbers that I really wanted to get into there. So, I mean, they may never be recognized with Kentucky in 96 or Duke in 92 or Kansas in 2008 or that North Carolina team in 2009. But in my honest opinion, to me, it was the most dominant tournament run of any team that I've ever seen, of any national champion in all the years. Like I said, we've been covering this thing since 97. That's when we really, that's when our coverage really took off, and it is what it is. So unfortunately, what's a Strictly Sports show without at least one hard time story? And thankfully, it's only one. Praise God for that. So we got to get into it. The notorious Conor McGregor. We know, if you didn't know the story by now, he attacked a bus full of UFC fighters, and he was arrested after entering the Barclays Center with several friends and teammates and throwing objects at a bus, allegedly targeting fellow UFC fighter Khabib Nurmagomedov and hurting several people in the process, including UFC 223 fighters Michael Chiesa and Ray Borg. And McGregor's actions caused the cancellations of 3 bouts that were scheduled to take place at UFC 223 in Brooklyn. And he is facing multiple charges for his actions in New York. And of course, that's the story. He had a hearing last Friday at the Kings County Criminal Court in New York. The judge issued an order of protection in favor of Chiesa, Borg, Ozzy Arias, and Ricardo Chico, and set a $50,000 bail and a $25,000 bail on McGregor's associate, Sheehan Cowley. And the bail was posted, and both men were freed shortly after. McGregor's next hearing is set for June 14th. MF, you are our port authority on all things UFC and MMA nowadays.
Yep.
But Conor McGregor, whoa, you crossed the line, dude.
Yeah, he this was bad. Dana White was absolutely furious, and he had every right to be furious because it affected 3 fights. 2 guys got basically injuries, facial injuries, because of the glass shattering when he threw that guardrail at the thing. At the bus, and he almost jeopardized, and this really almost made me really angry. He almost jeopardized Rose Thug Namajunas and Joanna Jacek fight. Luckily, both ladies did not get hurt. They were a little shaken up, but they weren't seriously hurt. But they almost got hurt because of that. So, I mean, it was unbelievable what was going on. A lot of people were really angry in the MMA world. A couple of people that I know, that I follow. One was Felice Herring. She went off on Conor McGregor, saying that was an idiotic move that he did. Another one that I'm very fond of, and I'm a big time fan of her, Carla Esparza, who is the former UFC strawweight champion, the first ever UFC strawweight champion in the history of the company. She actually went on a rant saying that I had so much respect for you, McGregor, not anymore. Dana White basically openly said that he was probably never going to work with McGregor ever again. And what happened was it all stemmed from literally it all stemmed from basically Khabib basically calling McGregor out, and McGregor, I guess, found out about it, flew down from Ireland with a whole bunch of guys to Brooklyn, New York, and caused a whole bunch of ruckus and trouble. And whoever you want to place the blame with, it, you can place it. It can go so many ways on that. But for me, it was without a doubt a disgusting display that I saw from Conor McGregor. It's reprehensible what he did, and it's without a doubt one of the lowest things. It's one of the lowest moments in MMA history. Let's be frank about it. I mean, the fall from grace of John Bones Jones, the fall from grace from Anderson Silva because of a failed drug test that has happened recently, to this has to at least take the cake. Because it almost affected so many fights, and it was almost like this UFC 223 was absolutely cursed. If you think about it, it had to go through a whole many changes going into the fight card leading into this event. I mean, I'm not surprised about. I mean, we'll wait and see what happens, but McGregor could be looking at jail time. He's definitely looking at possibly 2 or 3 lawsuits from MMA fighters, especially the 2 men that you talked about getting injured. Not only that, but his accomplice was supposed to fight on that card, and Dana White was so angry that he pulled him off the card, basically because of his actions. So he may the guy that you were talking about, Anthony, he may never ever set in a UFC octagon ever again. You never know. So I mean, this is a nightmare scenario on so many levels. I don't know. And, some people were saying, oh, but could this be a publicity stunt? God, I hope not. I don't think it is, because the way Dana White reacted and with everything that happened, how the card got messed up. And I understand it. There's always that theory about it being, now that they're trying to be as, more like WWE and everything else. And the thing is, UFC doesn't need to be the WWE. The UFC is without a doubt one of the best fight sports events that we see each and every month. You don't really need any type of WWE stupidity, as I'll call it. Even though, yes, it would be, I don't think it would be a good idea to do something like that, because then if you become a WWE-like event, I'm sorry, you're gonna alienate the hardcore fight fans, and that's something you do not want to do, is alienate those type of people. So I mean, to do the press conferences, to do all this stuff, the weigh-ins, it kind of feels a little scripted, and I get that, but once it comes to the big fights and the battles and the fight night, that's where UFC thrives, because you don't get that any bit better than any other place in the world. And for me, all this stuff that Conor's doing, I don't think it's a ploy. I don't think it's a trick. I know he wanted to send a message at Khabib because Khabib called McGregor out. And that's the one thing that I think that needs to be addressed, is that Khabib's been calling McGregor out, trying to say, if you're a real champion, you got to fight me. And he's been calling him out for about the last year or so, about 1 or 2 years, because Khabib is really the guy that nobody wants to face. He's 28-0. He's undefeated. He just dominated Ike Quarry in Ally Kenta in basically 5 rounds, and did it in very easy fashion. So yes, I understand what's going on. So I mean, I really got nothing more to say. So Anthony, go ahead. It's yours.
Yeah, major black eye for MMA and UFC after what happened. McGregor eventually would turn himself in to authorities. Rolling Stone confirmed with an NYPD spokesman following an initial report from NBC News he was being sought for questioning in connection with the incident where he and a group of cohorts allegedly caused damage to a bus containing multiple athletes, coaches, and managers. McGregor charged with 3 counts of misdemeanor assault and 1 count of criminal mischief. And it was after the conclusion of UFC 223 Media Day at the Barclays in Brooklyn. McGregor and a group of roughly a dozen associates were led into the venue without permission in what appeared to be a premeditated attack, and the group advanced to the loading dock area where fighters from the card had been put on the buses to return to the host hotel. And that's when the situation became unhinged, and McGregor was searching for Khabib Nurmagomedov, who, like MF said, had an altercation with one of the Irishman's teammates, Artem Lobov, and McGregor and the others were allegedly looking for retaliation and found the bus with Khabib inside of it. Threw several objects at the bus, including a trash can and dolly. The dolly shattered one of the front left windows on the bus, with authorities claiming that the shards of glass injured multiple people. Michael Chiesa suffered multiple lacerations to the face and head, while flyweight Ray Borg had glass in his eyes, which resulted in multiple cornea abrasions. And both fighters were deemed medically unfit to compete, which is why their fights were called off. And the situation was eventually contained. McGregor and his group fled the venue. Before long, authorities told Rolling Stone they wanted McGregor to turn himself in for questioning on the matter. He was officially arrested at 10:23 p.m. Eastern Time, with multiple charges currently pending. And Dana White said it was the most disgusting thing that has ever happened in the history of the company. You can imagine he's going to be sued beyond belief, and this was a real bad career move for him. And UFC also released a statement. The group, which included McGregor and Lobov, vandalized the vehicle that contained a number of athletes competing at the event taking place this weekend. NYPD was immediately alerted and is currently in the process of investigating the situation. And UFC is working very closely with the New York Athletic Commission, Barclays Center, security, and law enforcement authorities. All parties are working together to ensure the highest standard of proper safety precautions are implemented to protect the fans and athletes. And it's a low blow. It was a low blow. This I can honestly say was the biggest black eye in the history of the UFC. No question about it. I mean, and it's already, and MF already brought up the laundry list of issues that UFC had. With John Bones Jones, his fall from grace, as well as Anderson the Spider Silva, and absolutely reprehensible. It's in our immortal words. Like we've said so many times over the last 6 years of shows that we've done. Since we started these shows back in 2012. I mean, one of the things we would always say, and I think it's going to come up here very much so, pointless, unnecessary. It's been so long since we've said it. I forgot the order of how it goes, but you know the story by now. I mean, it was pointless, unnecessary, uncalled for, irresponsible, reprehensible, criminal, and here's a guy who had an amazing and better than expected match with Floyd Mayweather, which ended up surprising all of us. It ended up being one of our sleeper moments of 2017, bar none. And then all these months later, we could be looking at a fall from grace from the Notorious One. So I just hope and pray that everybody's all right, and that hopefully another incident like this never, ever happens again. And normally we would say this when a man hits a woman, but in this case, what Conor McGregor did was nothing short of cowardice. And he's not a man; he's a coward. He's a monster. And hopefully, he gets the book thrown at him. He gets punished to the fullest extent, and and hopefully he will learn a lesson from this. And I hope and pray that he will eventually see the light, and he'll never do anything like this again. I know how controversial he is. He may be the most controversial and polarizing figure in MMA today, but I just hope that down the road he gets the help that he needs. I mean, hopefully they'll have him undergo some sort of counseling or whatever, anger management. That should be part of the deal, I think. So, it is what it is, but it's sad. I mean, it's always sad when something like this comes up. So it's something that we don't like to get into. It's not fun for us to have to talk about things like this, but one of the things that we don't like about doing this is having to talk about nonsense like this, but it is what it is. So let's put that negative nonsense aside and let's get into our triple main event. And this is what I've been chomping at the bits to do tonight. Our complete preview of the Stanley Cup playoffs. They started this past Wednesday, and man alive, I'm going to go against the grain here. And honestly, what I think we should do is start it off with the series that MF and I are doing. And this is the series that we both agreed we were going to do. Talked about it a couple weeks ago when we did our final NHL power rankings of this past season. We wanted this matchup and we got it, and it's an original six matchup, and we're going to start it off with our series, the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Boston Bruins. I mean, I'll tell you what, I mean, there are only a few players on this current Maple Leafs team who are also members of that 2013 Leafs team that surrendered that 4-1 lead and lost Game 7 to the Bruins, which was one of the greatest Game 7s of all time. That Leafs team was fortunate to make the playoffs, and the franchise wouldn't do so again until last season. This Leafs team is loaded up front and just trying to make the best of it on the back end. And it's certainly closer to breaking the drought since 1967 than any Toronto team in recent memory. The Bruins also have designs on the Stanley Cup thanks to some dominant stretches this season and a seemingly perfect balance of veterans and youth. But will they live to regret that Game 82 loss that slotted them against the Leafs instead of giving them the Atlantic Division title? In the first line, the Bruins' top line of Patrice Bergeron, Brad Marchand, and David Pastrnak came back down to earth a bit in the latter part of the season, but still produced 27 goals and a plus 10 goal differential at even strength for the season. And when it's on, it's the best line in hockey. But the Leafs' top trio of Austin Matthews, William Nylander, and Zach Hyman, they're in the conversation too, producing 44 goals in 59 games at even strength. This is closer than it would be in comparison to about 28 other teams in this league for the Bruins. So when it comes to the first line, I give the advantage to the Boston Bruins. In depth, The Bruins are waiting to get trade deadline acquisition Rick Nash back from injury, although he came back in that game one last night, with the expectation he'll be reunited with center David Krejci and winger Jake DeBrusk, and that would bump the explosive young Ryan Donato to play with Danton Heinen and either David Backes or Riley Nash. The Leafs' second line of Nazem Kadri, Patrick Marleau, and Mitch Marner, they have a +5 goal differential, while Tyler Bozak, James Van Riemsdyk, and Connor Brown had a 5.63 relative Corsi for percentage on a team with two other darn good lines. That's not even mentioning Leo Komarov, Tomas Plekanec, and Andreas Johansson. So advantage in that goes to Toronto. Defense, I have to give the advantage to the Boston Bruins. Zdeno Chara and Charlie McAvoy, they're the best pairing of crusty veteran and beloved young stars since Men in Black, with a +14 goal differential at even strength. Torrey Krug will likely pair with either Adam McQuaid or Keevan Miller after the injury to Brandon Carlo, with Matt Gergelik getting the other partner. The Leafs have witnessed Morgan Riley blossom into a top defenseman, which is essential given how much ice time Ron Hainsey gets beside him. Nikita Zaitsev and Jake Gardiner give up more than they gain at even strength. Travis Dermott, meanwhile, was like a midseason tourniquet on Roman Polak. So like I said, Boston gets the advantage in defense. Goaltending, no contest. It's the Boston Bruins. Tuukka Rask may one day have the full confidence of Bruins fans, but for some, that day hasn't quite arrived yet. I mean, he has a .924 even strength save percentage in 53 starts, winning 34 of them. His postseason save percentage, that would be .928. His counterpart, Frederik Andersen, sees more shots than the Daytona Beach bar, but had a .921 even strength save percentage in the regular season. He had a .915 save percentage and a .241 goals against average in the Leafs playoff series loss to the Washington Capitals last season. Like I said, Boston gets the advantage in the goaltending. Special teams, I got to give that to the Boston Bruins as well. They were 4th in the NHL on the power play, 23.5%, and 3rd on the penalty kill at 84. The Leafs were 2nd on the power play at 25, but 11th on the penalty kill at 81. The Leafs were better staying out of the box, 231 times shorthanded, 25th in the league, while the Bruins were 9th in power play opportunities at 259. Coaching game, I have to give that edge to Toronto. Bruce Cassidy would probably have a Jack Adams within his reach were it not for a certain coach of a certain Western Conference team that didn't exist before this season. We'll get into them a little bit. He's been great for the Bruins, especially in deploying the younger players in his lineup. Mike Babcock, of course, coached the Detroit Red Wings to a Stanley Cup in 2008. So that's why I got to give the advantage to Toronto, the experience of Babcock over Cassidy. Health-wise, it's even. I mean, the biggest loss for the Bruins is, of course, Brandon Carlo, solid defensive defenseman who skated 19 minutes and 14 seconds per game this year. Otherwise, it's the Nashes on the mend before the playoffs, and the Leafs are healthy, while not counting Nathan Horton and Joffrey Lupul, obviously. So there's nothing really left for me to say on this except who do I have winning this series? I got to go with the Boston Bruins to win this series. It's going the distance. I see this going all 7 games, even though the Boston Bruins were very dominant in Game 1 last night, that 5-1 win. And, you know, they just played so well in Game 1. I mean, Rask was great, only surrendering 1 goal. I mean, quite a few players on the Boston Bruins had like 5 or more hits in the game. And, you know, they were very chippy and when they needed to be, and they just dominated. Game 2 coming up tomorrow night, prime time, Saturday night on NBC. How fun is that going to be? I mean, we're no strangers to that. And maybe not the game that we were hoping, maybe not the 5-star classic we were hoping for last night, but nonetheless, I still have reason to believe that this is going to be a wonderful series. And, you know, when we heard it was going to be this series, I mean, we were like, oh yeah, this is our series. No doubt about it. It's Saturday night is tomorrow night is Game 2. Game 3 will be on Monday night at Air Canada Center in Toronto. Game 4 will be Thursday the 19th. Game 5 will be another Saturday affair, April 21. And then Monday, April 23rd will be Game 6. And if a Game 7 is needed, it'll be on Wednesday, April 25th. So nothing more to say here. I got the Boston Bruins winning in 7. So I'm going to bring in the Doc Emmerich and Gary Thorne of this group, like the Gary Thorne of my Bill Clement. MF, the series we wanted, Toronto and Boston, off to an explosive start. I got Boston in 7. What says you, Doc?
I gotta say that I like what Boston did, especially in Game 1, and they really kind of really took it to Toronto. Definitely in a very impressive performance than anything else. At the end of the day, I kind of feel like, Toronto should be able to bounce back, but there's going to be a lot of momentum, a lot of hostilities going into that next game. How's that going to play out overall? We'll wait and see what happens. But no, once you get into the swing of things, you're going to think that this is going to get a little more chippier, a little more hard hitting type of game. And if we didn't see it, especially at the end of Game 1, we'll definitely see a lot of more statement type looking stuff. Of course, Toronto is definitely going to want to try to tie the series and get it back to the Air Canada Center, and that crowd is going to be really jacked up when they get back on Monday night. And yeah, at the end of the day, we're just going to have to wait and see what happens. But the moral of the story is, what is that line going to do? You said it pretty much up to this point, with everything that Boston has done. And you got to think, Austin Matthews, what's he going to bring to the table? Are they going to really bring something to the table that will be very good? Because Jamie Van Riemsdyk, was basically missing in action during that first game. But we'll wait and see what happens. At the end of the day, it's going to be, I believe Boston should advance, and but I disagree with the 7-game set. I think they're going to win this in 6. So I got the Bruins eliminating Toronto in 6. Anthony, it's yours.
And I think it's only fitting we move on to the other Atlantic Division. Well, actually, no, it's not an Atlantic Division matchup. It's an Atlantic Division team squaring off against a wild card from the Metropolitan Division. That would be the Tampa Bay Lightning squaring off against the New Jersey Devils. New Jersey in the postseason for the first time since 2012. Now MF, New Jersey and Tampa. I mean, 3 years ago, we saw what this team did to our team in that Eastern Conference Finals. Absolutely had their way with us. You remember those 2 infamous words I always used to say, bully hockey. And, well, there's no question about it. In my mind, Tampa's the consensus to not only represent the East in the finals, but to go all the way. And after what we saw last night in Game 1 against New Jersey, I think they're well on their way.
Yeah, but be careful now, because if you really think about it, New Jersey actually could feel really good about themselves, because for most of the game, they were really going toe to toe with Tampa Bay. Tampa didn't really run them out of the building until towards especially the end. They got a late goal there, and then the empty netter that pretty much iced the game. But you don't want to get complacent. That's the only thing I got to say. If Tampa just got to handle their business and do what they got to do, because if they kind of think that, oh, this is a nonchalant team, that this is an easy out, you're gonna find yourself into some big time trouble. And Tampa did for most of the night, So I gotta say, New Jersey's gonna give them a little bit of a fight, even though I think they're gonna get one of these games. I don't think it's gonna be a sweep, but I think Tampa's just too good, and they're just too strong. Athletically, they're quicker. They're a lot more faster than what New Jersey brings to the table. And I gotta say it, I think Tampa wins the series easily. I got them putting New Jersey away in 5. Anthony, it's yours.
Yeah. Tampa Bay Lightning were at one point the consensus pick to emerge from the East. They had all the pieces and added a few more at the deadline. But the natural slowing of their pace, some goaltending struggles, and the rise of the Boston Bruins meant the Lightning had to wait until the last game of the regular season to win the Atlantic Division. New Jersey clinched their unlikely playoff spot in Game 81 after finishing last in the Eastern Conference last season. They were powered by an MVP caliber performance from winger Taylor Hall and buoyed by the stellar goaltending of backup Keith Kincaid down the stretch. New Jersey went 3-0 against the Lightning in the regular season, for what that's worth, since 93-94, there has never been a first-round series in which the team with the fewest points was unbeaten against the team with the most points in their respective conference, according to the Elias Sports Bureau. First line advantage goes to the Tampa Bay Lightning, no doubt about it. Nikita Kucherov, who had 39 goals and 61 assists for 100 points, and Steven Stamkos with 27 goals and 59 assists for 86, with the NHL's most dynamic duo in the regular season. Vladislav Nemesnikov ran shotgun with them for most of the season until he was flipped in the Ryan McDonagh deal at the trade deadline. And there another former Ranger, JT Miller, who has posted 18 points in 19 games with the Lightning. New Jersey does have their own dynamic duo in Taylor Hall and rookie Nico Hischier, who have excelled with both Kyle Palmieri and rookie Jesper Bratt. Hall has to be seen to be believed. He has willed this team to the postseason, but nonetheless, Tampa has the first line advantage. Depth, it's Tampa. Lightning's got the firepower, Braden Point, rookie Yanni Gourde, Tyler Johnson, Alex Killorn, and Andre Palat. They're dangerous, and don't sleep on Chris Kunitz for playoff heroics. The Devils' scoring extends beyond the first line thanks to 10 players who have double-digit goals, from swift forwards such as Miles Wood and Blake Coleman to veterans such as Brian Boyle and Travis Zajac. Defense, it's Tampa again. Victor Hedman is in line to win his first Norris Trophy after a season in which he posted 17 goals and 46 assists. He has played with both Anton Strawman and Dan Girardi recently, as has Ryan McDonagh, as the Lightning try to find defensive combos that click. And rookie Mikhail Sergachev and veterans Andre Schuster and Braden Coburn are also in the mix. The Devils rely on Sami Vatanen and Andy Green as a top pairing, followed by a mix of Damon Severson, John Moore, Mirko Mueller, and rookie Will Butcher, who was third on the team with 44 points. Goaltending, I got to consider it even. I mean, Andrei Vasilevsky finished with a .929 even strength save percentage, but said he was tired toward the end of his first season as a full starter. You know, Ben Bishop was traded to Dallas in the offseason, of course. He made 65 appearances. His second to last start in Boston, a shutout, was encouraging. Everything else in the past month was not. Were it not for Keith Kincaid, the Devils would not be in the playoffs. Starter Corey Schneider lost 10 of his previous 11 starts and had seen the crease only 3 times since March 1st. Enter Kincaid, who went 11-1-1 in 14 appearances since March 6th, allowing 2 or fewer goals in 6 of those games. If he stumbles, Schneider is there to take back the crease. But would New Jersey want that? Special teams, this is where I have to give the advantage to New Jersey. I mean, the Lightning have the third best power play in the NHL at 24%, as Kucherov had 36 power play points. The Devils were number 10 with a 21.4% efficiency, and the Devils were 8th on the penalty kill at 81.8, while the Lightning were 28th. And the Lightning were shorthanded to 10 more times than New Jersey. Coaching edge, you got to give the advantage to Tampa Bay. John Cooper, he coached the Lightning to the Stanley Cup Finals in 2015, and then again to the conference finals the following year before losing to Pittsburgh. His cerebral approach to the game is a benefit, as is the familiarity he has with the roster. John Hines deserves credit for pushing so many correct buttons this season, but he's an unproven commodity in the postseason. Health-wise, they're even. Stamkos battled a lower body injury, and the hope is that he's ready for the first round. The Devils have some bumps, but nothing serious. But nonetheless, I agree with you, MF. I got Tampa Bay winning this series as well. I think it'll be one more game, though. I think Tampa wins this series in 6, not 5. But, you know, I'm just trying to take it easy, like you just said. So, give me Tampa Bay in that series in 6. And now we're going to move on to the 2 Metropolitan Division matchups in the Stanley Cup playoffs, of course. We start with the team that won that division, of course, that team being the Washington Capitals. And they're squaring off against the Columbus Blue Jackets. And yes, another edition of the Stanley Cup playoffs and another edition of the Washington Capitals entering the playoffs looking strong as ever. And maybe, just maybe, this will be the year where they break through and win the Stanley Cup. But before we plan that parade, Alex Ovechkin and company must get by Columbus. I mean, the Capitals closed out the season on an 8-2 run to finish at 49, 26, and 7 with a goal differential of plus 20. Ovechkin added another Rocket Richard trophy to his collection, though he was 1 goal shy of notching 50 for the 8th time in his career. As for Columbus, They look like the early winner in the Artemi Panarin for Brandon Saad trade from last summer, as the Breadman led the Blue Jackets in points with a career high 82, and Panarin adds a dynamic scoring element to a franchise that has been renowned for grit, toughness, and other intangibles that sometimes serve as a polite way to say lack of elite scores. First line advantage Washington Capitals. Pierre-Luc Dubois, the number 3 overall pick in the 2016 draft, will not soon be confused for the 2 players taken before him, Austin Matthews and Patrick Laine. After an up-and-down season last season, Dubois came into his own this season, anchoring Columbus's top line along with Panarin and either Josh Anderson or Kim Atkinson. The trio, including Anderson, was particularly effective with a 5-on-5 Corsi for a percentage of 59 and a 5-on-5 goals for a percentage of 59.3. The Caps' top unit of Ovechkin, Nicholas Backstrom, sometimes Evgeny Kuznetsov, and Tom Wilson posted similar rates, but there's something about having a 49-goal scorer on the ice that tilts things a bit. The depth, you got to give that to Washington. The trade deadline addition of winger Thomas Vanek was a game changer for Columbus as he scored 15 points in 19 games, 14 of which came at even strength, finding quick chemistry with Boone Jenner and Alexander Wennberg. Caps coach Barry Trotz can counter with a second line that includes Kuznetsov or Backstrom, with TJ Oshie, Andre Burakovsky, or Jacob Vrana. Defense, I actually got to give that to Columbus. I mean, when considering the critical components to building a championship contender, 3 parts are essential: a number 1 center, a number 1 defense, and a workhorse goalie. Well, the Blue Jackets happen to have 2 number 1 defensemen in Seth Jones and Zach Werenski, and not to be outdone, Washington's John Carlson led all defensemen in scoring this season with 68 points. We'll go with the team that has 2 number 1s, and that's Columbus. Goaltending, I got to go with Columbus here. This season will go down as one to forget for Braden Holtby, as his .907 save percentage was the worst mark of his career, and that came after the worst postseason of his career, as he finished last postseason at .909. Backup Philip Grubauer had better numbers this season, but has just 78 minutes and 34 seconds of playoff experience. Of course, he started game 1 last night, and Columbus actually won. They came back and won in overtime. At the other end, Sergei Bobrovsky had another solid campaign, including a .921 save percentage and 5 shutouts, though he has tended to fall apart in the postseason with .908 and .882 save percentages the past 2 times the Jackets made the playoffs. But we got to give the slight edge to Columbus there. Special teams, I got to give that to Washington. Ovechkin has set up camp at a spot in the face-off circle to the opposing goaltender's right and proceeded to score an obscene number of goals thanks to his rapid release. Every opponent knows it. Every fan watching knows it. Heck, even the cotton candy vendor knows it. But no one has been able to stop it. However, and that release is particularly dangerous on the Caps' 7th-ranked power play. Blue Jackets lack bite with the man advantage themselves, 25th. And at 76.2%, finished number 26 on the penalty kill. That could be trouble. Coaching, it's even. Barry Trotz has assembled one of the most accomplished regular season coaching staffs, including goalie whisperer Mitch Korn. And, of course, John Tortorella's staff in Columbus is a bit less renowned, though Torch himself does have his name on the Stanley Cup. Then again, that was back in 2004, and neither coach has been great in the postseason recently. Health-wise, it's the Washington Capitals. With some other playoff-bound teams around the league, we're looking at you, Minnesota Wild. Columbus and Washington entered this series relatively healthy. Columbus captain Nick Foligno has been out since March 26th with a lower body injury. His availability is in question, along with defenseman Marcus Nudivara's and center Lucas Sedlak. Capitals energy forward Jay Beagle has missed the past 3 games with an upper body injury and remains day-to-day. At the end of the day, Washington Capitals win the series in 6 games. There's no question about that. Michael Bullock has just joined us. We're going to catch him up. Well, we're going to catch him up in just a moment, but I want to go to MF first and get his thoughts on this series with the Washington Capitals and the Columbus Blue Jackets. So, MF, I got Washington in 6. What says you?
I agree. Washington in 6. When you got a line like TJ Oshie, you also got Alexander Ovechkin. I think Brandon Holtby will be better because he normally does do a lot more better in the postseason than he does in regular season. And yeah, I know his numbers look diminished. He hasn't played that amazing, but I'm pretty sure they will be fine. Nothing more to say. So yes, I got the Washington Capitals winning in 6 as well, even though I think Columbus will give them one heck of a fight. And boy, man, what a way to steal game 1. That's a huge feather in the cap. They do that again. I don't know. Maybe an upset's brewing. Washington's been known to choke under the pressure in the postseason. Hopefully that does not happen again, but we shall see. Nothing more to say. Anthony, it's yours.
Yeah, we got to catch Michael Bullock up. He's missed quite a bit. So, Michael Bullock, come on in. We got to get your thoughts on Brandon Cooks getting traded to the Los Angeles Rams and Robert Griffin III signing with the Baltimore Ravens. We combined these two stories into one when it comes to the NFL hot stove. So, your quick thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, Brandon Cooks, going to the Rams. I think this is a sign from the Rams that they're going for it this season. You look at some of the moves they had this offseason with getting Ndamukong Suh on defense and Aqib Talib, and now you add a weapon for Jared Goff. I think the Rams they're going to come out of that NFC West for the second straight year. Now, can they get that far with the team they have? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, Robert Griffin III back in the NFL and with the Baltimore Ravens. He's obviously going to be the backup to Joe Flacco. Robert Griffin III. What a major disappointment he's been. He had a successful rookie season in 2012, but ever since then he's been just another player. So will we finally get to see the RG3 that we come to know? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, that's pretty much all I can say. So that's all. So that's it. Move on.
Kyrie Irving done. Of course, we know he missed the rest of the regular season. He's got to miss the playoffs too. So, how is that going to affect your team's mindset going into their series with the Milwaukee Bucks that we're going to get into a little bit later on?
Well, I'll tell you this right now. It's going to hurt them a little bit to not have their best player out there. How far do I think they can go? I think they could win the first round, but winning the second round, that could be a tough one to go. But we've seen this team come together before. They've always had a way of proving the experts wrong. So to me, we're just going to wait and see how everything goes. So that's pretty much all I can say.
And then Villanova winning the national championship. MF and I both agree perhaps the most dominant tournament run of any national champion, maybe ever.
Yeah, what can you say about Villanova? It was a dominant run by them, and they just dominated that national championship game, and it wasn't even close. So, yeah, Jay Wright and his staff definitely have something going with this Villanova squad now winning their second national championship in 3 years. So could they be the favorites to win it all next season? It's possible, but depending on who comes back and who's going to be coming in as freshmen, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. So that's pretty much all I can say. So congratulations, Villanova. You're once again national champions.
And I know you wanted to go on a profanity-laced tirade about this next story, but I want to keep this brief because we got Stanley Cup and NBA playoff previews to get into. The Conor McGregor situation. You vented to me about this. You went off on me about this. But I know you want to go on a profanity-laced tirade, and rightfully so. But I'm asking you, at least for this one time, to keep it clean here and keep it brief as well.
What was it about? I couldn't hear you.
Conor McGregor situation.
I don't know what I pretty much told you how I felt, but to the viewers out there, and like I said, I'm going to keep it pretty much clean here. I pretty much went on a profanity-laced tirade when I talked to you about it, and
oh, yeah, you did.
So no need to rehash it there. But to keep it simple and clean, I mean, come on, Conor McGregor. I mean, you're good. You're a good fighter. There's no need for you to do something stupid like this. I mean, for you to attack a bus and injure some fighters and really took some of the matches off that UFC card. You, my friend, are the total definition of a complete and cluster bleep idiot. I mean, I hope Dana White, after he reviews all this, he comes down hard on him. Is he done with UFC? I don't know, but to me, I think it should be a 1-year suspension. I mean, I really don't know. I mean, Conor McGregor, I mean, he's been known as a hothead, but this was way out of bounds as far as I'm concerned. I mean, Florio, I mean, what do you think the punishment should be for him?
For me, I think it should be a lifetime ban. That's what I think.
And what did Fletch say?
Well, you'll have to go back and watch the tape on that one. But me, well, I didn't say it personally. I didn't say what they should do, but you just put me on the spot, and you know me and my commissioner hothead approach. So
you say you think it should be a lifetime ban?
With behavior that reprehensible, absolutely.
And hurting people.
Again, I say necessary.
I agree with you. I think it should be a lifetime ban. Now, whether Dana White will do that remains to be seen.
Probably won't, but
But yeah, that's pretty much all I'm going to say on it.
Yeah, and we got into our Stanley Cup playoff preview. 3 series in, starting with the Eastern Conference, and we started it off with your team, Bullet, the Boston Bruins, going up against the Toronto Maple Leafs. So, who do you like in that series?
You know what? I like the Boston Bruins in this series. I think this could go 5 or 6 games as far as I'm concerned. So that's how far I think the Bruins will go.
How about the Tampa Bay Lightning against the New Jersey Devils?
Who did you have winning that series?
We both have Tampa Bay winning. MF has Tampa Bay winning in 5. I have Tampa Bay winning in 6.
Yeah, I got Tampa Bay winning the series too, and I'm gonna say it goes 5 games.
And the series we were just talking about when you came in, the Washington Capitals and the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Yeah, I got the Washington Capitals winning the series. I think it's gonna go 6 games.
All right, so now you're all caught up, and let's move on to our final Eastern Conference series. 2 teams renewing old acquaintances here. The Pittsburgh Penguins and the Philadelphia Flyers. MF, I'm going to start this one off with you here. So much history between these 2 teams. Man alive, what a series. I mean, I consider this the number 2 series in the Eastern Conference behind our series, Toronto and Boston. So MF, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, who you got?
Well, this one's a lot more interesting and a lot more tougher than it was about a few hours ago, because going into it, I think we all were kind of all in an agreement that it was going to be Pittsburgh all the way. But now the way Philadelphia put it on the Penguins tonight, oh my goodness, this just changed the complexion of the series. Now you're going to Philadelphia 1-1 and you're going to go over there. Oh boy, this is going to get really interesting now. They did make the big decision, put Elliott in the net tonight, and it definitely came in and worked in the favor of Philly. They just found their offense. I think that's really the key factor, and they literally shut it out Phil Kessel, they shut it out. Sidney Crosby, of course, Crosby had the hat trick in game one. Definitely was non-existent, basically MIA tonight. Definitely not a good night for Penguin fans around the league. And we're gonna have to wait and see. This was a very interesting performance by Philly, but I think at the end of the day, Pittsburgh should be able to slam the door. But at first, I was thinking maybe this was going to be a 5. Actually, I even told my friend, I was like, I think this could go 4 or 5. Now I'm thinking more 6. So initially, I was going to go with initially I had it at 6 for Pittsburgh. Then I changed it to possibly a sweep to 5 games after the game 1 beat down. But now all of a sudden, I'm starting to lean more for 6, possibly 7 after what I just saw tonight. So we're going to have to wait and see. But Philly came to play tonight, and boy, did they lay a whooping on Pittsburgh, man. And let me tell you, I know I'm supposed to be very, very professional about it, and I know I got to be kind of not that kind of guy, but I'm going to openly admit there was a little Cheshire cat-like grin coming from my ear, and I know Anthony Floyo was probably grinning from ear to ear, seeing those big bad Penguins get the living bejesus kicked out of them tonight, to say the very least. So nothing more to say. Michael Bullock, it's yours, bro.
Yeah, I got Pittsburgh winning this series. I think it's going 6, but yeah, I mean, after that first game, I mean, I originally was going to say Pittsburgh in 5 games, but Philadelphia, boy, I mean, you talk about bouncing back in a big way. I mean, they certainly came to play tonight and laid one on the Pittsburgh Penguins and Fletcher and Florio. And when I heard about them winning, I'm pretty sure they had huge smiles on their faces with Pittsburgh losing. So yeah, I mean, in the end, I just think Pittsburgh will win the series. I think they're the better team. But, I mean, would I be surprised if Philadelphia wins the series? No, I wouldn't be. So that's pretty much all I could say. So, Florio, I give it to you.
Yeah. The 2-time defending Stanley Cup champs, they begin their quest for 3 with home ice advantage, which is clutch because they had the best home record in the East at 39-2. Philly, meanwhile, staved off early adversity. I mean, that 10-game losing streak feels like forever ago to put together a fine season, and general manager Ron Hextall's group is arriving ahead of schedule. These rivals have not faced off in the postseason in 6 years, which Philly won in 6 games. Thanks to a rotating cast, mainly on Philly's side, some of the nastiness from that series has surely subsided, but there's always a chance it resurfaces. First line, I got to give the advantage, believe it or not, to Philadelphia. I mean, their top line features our trophy candidate in Claude Giroux and a Selke Trophy frontrunner in Sean Couturier. And Pittsburgh's top line, as usual, features Sidney Crosby and wings de jour. Never discount Crosby, the noted playoff performer who has been a flyer killer this season, who had 9 points in 4 games. Jake Guentzel didn't have the breakout season many expected after his great performance last postseason, but he still has a big-time reputation. Depth, I got to go with Pittsburgh. The Penguins got a big boost at the trade deadline with the addition of Derek Brassard, giving them one of the top center trios in the league. Defensive depth, however, is a big problem. Pittsburgh has a mediocre blue line group without depth, but they still seem ahead of Philly, who have relied on a lot of young players this season. And that depth concern also extends to the net, always a problem area in Philly. Defense, I go with Philadelphia as well. This is Pittsburgh's biggest area of weakness. If they don't advance in these playoffs, it will be because of a lack of quality defensemen locking things down in front of Matt Murray. The Flyers are slightly above the league average in allowing 2.88 goals a game, which is impressive considering their usual goaltending woes. And second-year defenseman Ivan Provorov is one to watch out for in particular. Goaltending, it's Pittsburgh. I mean, it has been an inconsistent season for Matt Murray, but all he needs to do is get hot like he did in last year's playoffs, and boy, was he hot. 22 Twins and 31 starts, a 195 goals against average, and a 928 save percentage. And for the Flyers, goaltending is a question mark as usual. Brian Elliott will get the early nod. or would anyone be surprised if one of his backups ends up seeing time in the net? Special teams, Pittsburgh gets that advantage as well. At times this season, Pittsburgh's power play has looked unstoppable. It was tops in the league at 26.2%. That has been especially true in games against Philadelphia. In the 4-game series this season, Pittsburgh was 5 out of 13 on the power play, while Philly was just 2 out of 16. And Philly's usual power play guy, Wayne Simmons, has not looked like his dominant self on the unit. And Philly's penalty kill is among the worst in the league at 75.8%. Coaching, it's Pittsburgh. I mean, during the team's 10-game losing streak earlier this season, there was speculation that coach Dave Haxtell might be fired. My how times have changed. While it's impressive that he turned things around, his record does not match up with Mike Sullivan, who was engineered the 2-time defending Cup champs. Health-wise, it's Philly. Third-line center Derek Brassard is important to this lineup, and he's currently working his way back from a lower body injury. The Flyers welcome top goalie Brian Elliott back from a long-term injury, which should be promising news. But nonetheless, initially, I had Pittsburgh winning this series in 5, but I think this is more at least 6, maybe even 7. But nonetheless, I got the Pittsburgh Penguins winning this series. So now we move on to the Western Conference, and the team that had the best record in the entire league, the President's Trophy winning Nashville Predators, as they square off against the Colorado Avalanche. Michael Bullock, we're going to start this one off with you. Nashville, Colorado, who you got?
Yeah, I mean, Nashville, definitely had one heck of a season. I mean, winning the President's Trophy. They, excuse me. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they look to get back to the Stanley Cup Finals, and hopefully this time around they can definitely win the series. Or win the title this time around. But Nashville looked pretty impressive in Game 1 of their series. But I'll tell you this right now, guys. If Nashville continues to do this, I think this is definitely going to be over in 4 games. But you know what? Screw it. I'm going to say it. Nashville's going to win the series. They're going to sweep the Avalanche out in 4 games. So there's really nothing more for me to say. Florio, it is yours.
Interesting there. Okay. Nashville Predators made an improbable run to last year's Stanley Cup Finals, and they were even stronger entering this year's playoffs. Colorado defied the odds to reach the postseason to begin with after recording the league's worst record by 21 points last season. Colorado qualified this year by winning its final game of the season against the St. Louis Blues. First line, I give the advantage to Colorado. This is where the Avalanche shine. Nathan MacKinnon asserted himself into the MVP discussion by midseason and never let up. His line mates Mikko Rantanen and Gabriel Landeskog hold up their end of the bargain too. The Predators are less top-heavy, though Philip Forsberg shines, especially that goal last night. Yeah, MF, I saw the goal. Unbelievable. It's where he shines. Nashville's strength lies in its balance. Depth, I go with Nashville. Playoff series could easily be defined by center depth. And is there any team who has a better down center than Nashville? Answer, no. Overall depth has been Nashville's greatest strength this season. And Peter Laviolette has had to manage his lineup all season long to make sure everyone is getting playing time. Avalanche are not as lucky. The first line buoyed the team for most of the season. These young players were integrated into the lineup. Defense, it's Nashville again. You could probably make the case for Nashville boasting the best top 4 in the league. They certainly have 2 of the overall best defensemen in Roman Josi and PK Subban. Avalanche are not as lucky. Eric Johnson is a stud, but he's out indefinitely with an injury. That's less than ideal. Tyson Barrie had a nice season offensively, but the Avs' current top 6 blue liners simply are not on par with their opponents, who are number 2 in the league in goals allowed a game at 249. Goaltending, Nashville. Pekka Rinne has been sensational. He's the best in the trophy frontrunner and looks to build off last year's postseason run. And his backup, UC Saros, isn't shabby himself and is poised to carry a franchise sometime soon. Colorado are without their top goalie, Semyon Varlamov. For this series, Jonathan Bernier has been a formidable backup but remains inconsistent. Special teams goes to Colorado. Avalanche have one of the best power plays in the league, ranking 7th at 21.9%. And it'll be fun to watch them match up with the Predators' penalty kill, who was 6th in the league. Avalanche have been even better at killing off penalties, though, ranking third in the league at 83.3%. Nashville's power play should be better than it is, as they finished 12th this season at 21.2. Coaching, it's Nashville. If not for Gerard Gallant and the incredible Vegas Golden Knights, Colorado's Jared Bednar would likely be the front runner for the Adams Award for the turnaround he engineered, all while losing his best player, Matt Duchene, to a trade in November. That said, when it comes to experience, Peter Laviolette is the guy. With 1 Stanley Cup and 2 conference championships to his name, he has been in this position before. Health-wise, it's Nashville. Avalanche had 2 serious blows before the playoffs. Number 1 goaltender Semyon Varlamov is out and will not be available for this series. And their defenseman Erik Johnson is also out indefinitely. 2 significant losses. Predators are far healthier. Nashville Predators win this series in 5 games. Doc, what says you?
I agree. I think the Nashville Predators have looked very strong. They've looked amazing all season long. I kind of have a good feeling about it, and I truly believe that this is going to be an unbelievable series, an unbelievable. This is on paper, it's an easy matchup. On paper, it looks really easy. It should be nothing more for anything to say. It's just once we see the matchups, once we see the battles and see how this plays out. But Nashville is just so good and so strong. I think they're even better than when they were 1 year ago. And to think about it, it was an unbelievable run. It was an unbelievable run all the way to the Cup final. But now we're talking about a team that is definitely a powerhouse squad that I'm going to openly admit, I think Nashville could win the Stanley Cup. I mean, they're that good. So for me, I like what I see. The way that this team's been going, they're really strong. They're really powerful. I have to just say it. It's gonna be all about winning. For them, they want to get back to the Cup final, and more importantly, they want redemption. They feel like they probably let one get away a year ago when they lost the final to Pittsburgh. They are determined and they want the Cup, and I don't blame them. At the end of the night, I think they are definitely the more powerful team, the more better team. For me, I will openly say it. I think Nashville will not only win the series, but I got them going very far in this upcoming season. Could they make a return trip to the Cup final? It's very possible. It's very possible. I could even say it's very possible they could win the whole thing. I could easily see the Nashville Predators hoisting Lord Stanley's Cup for the first time ever as the world champions in hockey. I could go as far to say that. You could call that a bold prediction, but that's how I feel. So, Anthony, it's back to you.
Yes, indeed. I couldn't agree more, MF. I mean, Nashville, they're currently my second choice. I mean, right now, Tampa Bay is my favorite to win it all. I've been preaching about Tampa Bay for the last several months, and I'm not going back on that. But we'll see. We'll see. The other Central Division series, the Minnesota Wild and the Winnipeg Jets. I mean, we know the story here. Winnipeg. I'm just going to leave the headlines out. I'm just going to go into the advantages. First line advantage, Winnipeg. Jason Zucker and Eric Stahl are both having terrific seasons for Minnesota. However, it's hard not to be impressed by the Jets' firepower. Blake Wheeler might be one of the most underappreciated forwards in the league. Center Mark Scheifele, meanwhile, put up 60 points despite missing a chunk of time with injuries. The emergence of Kyle Connor, the rookie, on the left wing for Winnipeg gives the Jets the edge. Remember his name, the young American, is going to be good for some time. Winnipeg, the advantage in first line. Depth, that goes to Winnipeg as well. Patrick Laine is playing on the second line for the Jets. That's almost unfair. He's lining up with Paul Stastny, arguably the best trade deadline acquisition this season. The Jets have received sparks from their fourth line to various points this season. The Wild, however, are strong down the lineup. For example, while Charlie Coyle hasn't had his best season, he's still a tough punch to take on the third line. Minnesota endured a tremendous amount of injuries to get to this point, and that should say something. However, the Wild's defensive depth is clearly a deficiency, something that could doom them in this series. Defense, I got to go with Winnipeg. The Wild should have had an edge here, if not for injuries. Everything defenseman Ryan Suter is out for the year after undergoing surgery on a fractured ankle. It's a huge loss, considering Suter is second on the team with 45 assists, and more importantly, leads the team by logging almost 27 minutes per game, second highest in the league, trailing only LA's Drew Doughty. The big question is whether the Wild get Jared Spurgeon back. The Wild have insisted the 28-year-old will be ready for the playoffs, but will he return at 100% after his hamstring injury? Minnesota gets a ton of offensive production from its defensemen, and that shouldn't change. The Jets have been solid defensively, allowing only 2.65 goals a game, fifth best mark in the league. Goaltending, again, Winnipeg. This season has been a coming-out party for Connor Hellebuyck, although the team didn't quite trust him entering the season, signing Steve Mason to be the number one with number one money. The 24-year-old Hellebuyck shined, tying the record for wins at 43 by an American-born goalie. He has been terrific with a .923 save percentage and a .238 goals against. Devin Dubnyk, meanwhile, has been solid, but his numbers are not as good. .918 save percentage, .251 GAA, and he hasn't stolen as many games as Hellebuyck has. Special teams, that's Winnipeg again. The Jets take a lot of penalties, second highest mark in the league at 112. It's a good thing their penalty kill has been strong, 81.8% and ninth in the league. The Wild are also decent at killing them off at 13th, so it's a wash there. The big difference comes on the power play. The Jets have been phenomenal and feature Patrick Laine, whose lethal shot has given him the most power play goals in the league with 20, 3 more than Alexander Ovechkin. Coaching, this is the only advantage I give to Minnesota. I mean, entering the season, there were questions of whether Paul Maurice was the right man for the Jet job. He has proven that he is, but he doesn't have the best track record. The Jets have mostly been inconsistent under his watch before the season. Bruce Boudreau has a long history of long playoff runs, but the ultimate goal has always eluded him. He has coached 85 career playoff games, but is under 500 in the postseason. Nevertheless, we'll give the nod to experience. Health-wise, Winnipeg, for the second time in 3 years, the Wild entered the playoffs without one of their marquee players. Zach Parise missed the postseason 2 years ago, and now it's Suter sitting out. The Wild were hobbled by injuries all season, but should be getting a weapon back in Spurgeon. The Jets shut down defenseman Tobias Enstrom before the playoffs to heal. His return is important for depth. They're also without veteran forward Matt Hendricks for now, but he could return later in the playoffs. Neither player is as important as Ryan Suter. Initially, I had Winnipeg winning in 6, but after what happened tonight, Winnipeg winning the game tonight 4-1. They are up 2-0. I initially had Winnipeg in 6, but now I'm leaning towards Winnipeg in either a sweep or 5. So nonetheless, Winnipeg wins the series, continues their Cinderella story. One of 2 teams that has really impressed me this season. We're going to get into that other team in just a little bit, but nonetheless, Winnipeg, I think it's either a sweep or 5 at best. So MF, Winnipeg Jets, what is going on with this team? All of a sudden, they have just emerged in the race. This is a team that we need to take very seriously, especially in the West. I think they're a big threat to Nashville. And if they go up against Nashville, MF, whoa, Nashville's going to have their hands full with this team. Trust me. MF, you there? All right. I don't know where MF is, but Michael Bullock, let's get your thoughts on this series. Winnipeg Jets, Minnesota Wild.
Who did you have winning the series?
I have Winnipeg winning in 4 or 5.
Yeah, I got Winnipeg winning this series. I think this could go 5 games. I like what I've seen from Winnipeg, and there's really nothing more that needs to be said. You pretty much touched on it. So I think we got Fletch back. So
I'm I'm gonna agree with you guys. Winnipeg's they look like a team possessed, man. I have not seen this side of Winnipeg in a long time. They look like they are about to do some damage, man. They are absolutely just throttling Minnesota. Unless Minnesota can turn it around when they get back to Minnesota right now, I got Winnipeg winning this one in at least 5. If they don't win game 3, they're goners in 4. So, but I think they'll get one of these 2 games, and it's going to end in 5. So Winnipeg in 5. Sorry for the delay. I'm a little preoccupied with some other stuff that's going on here. So, but Anthony, go ahead. It's yours.
Keep your mic on, MF, because you're going to be leading off our next matchup, and as we move to the Pacific Division, if we were doing the West, this would have been our series right here. The Los Angeles Kings and the Vegas Golden Knights. MF, LA, we know their story. 2-time Stanley Cup champion, 2012 and 14.
Yep.
The Vegas Golden Knights, the darlings of the NHL. Something has to give here.
Something has to give, and let me tell you, man, right now, it looks like a defensive struggle. The goaltenders are really standing on their heads right now. Neither team really can get off the mat. As you know, the last game that they played, which was a couple of nights ago, Vegas only won the game 1-0 because of Marc-Andre Fleury. Fleury was absolutely amazing. They just dropped the puck for the 3rd period. It's 1-1 as we speak right now at T-Mobile Arena in Vegas, and I'm gonna say it. This has been a really hard-hitting, hard-checking. This is turning into an ugly series too, man. I mean, the hits and everything else has been going on. I'm gonna say it, man. It's starting to get that feel of another rivalry that was pretty big back in the day. And Anthony, you might allude to this. Let's talk about it. Maybe this is starting to turn into something like a Colorado-Detroit series or a St. Louis-Chicago, something like that. It's getting pretty physical. You could sense the bad blood. You can sense the hatred and the anger, and I think we got ourselves a budding rivalry in the NHL. I think we got ourselves a rivalry. I think we finally got something that, you know, we might be able to hang our hat on as the next rivalry in the NHL. We didn't know who the Golden Knights were going to go after. We didn't know what their rivalries were going to look like. I think we got ourselves a rivalry, guys. I think LA and Vegas is going to go at it. I think with the way they've been playing, it's very possible. So for me, honestly, this is a great game, a great series. I got to go with Vegas. I got to go with Vegas to win the series. I think they just have enough weapons, and I love the fact that Marc-Andre Fleury is the goalie. He's really, he is so well tested for the Cup. For me, I'm going to go with Vegas to win this. This is going to go 7. I just had the feeling this is going to go all 7 games. They're all going to be close. They're not going to be high scoring. If anybody thinks this is going to be like a 5-4 or something like that, I don't think so. I think you're going to see a lot of 2-1s, 1-0 affairs. I don't think you're going to get anything more than that. So for me, I'm going to say it. Vegas Golden Knights advance in a 7-game series. Yes. Michael Bullock, it is all yours.
Yes. Before I give it to Bullock, before we give it to Bullock, Bullock, hold on a minute. MF, you brought up Colorado and Detroit. You remember how much fun we used to have calling those games? When Colorado and Detroit got together, it was going to be you doing it.
Oh yeah, because of the fact that there was genuine bad blood. They just did not like each other. It's like Boston and Montreal. Whenever these two teams go at it, you're in for a long night. We could talk about the Rangers and the New Jersey Devils. You're in for a long night. It's one of those. Pittsburgh and Philly right now, they're getting there's some chippiness going on in that series. So when you get legit pure rivals. It could be interstate rivals. You know, this rivalry is basically because it's one state over, and it's become, and the thing is, like I said, with the Vegas Golden Knights, we didn't know what to expect. We didn't know what that rivalry was going to be. But all of a sudden, you see the hard hitting, you see the chippiness on the ice. You're starting to see, this is starting to remind me of some of those other old rivalries. And that's what you want to see. Good old time fashion hockey, knockdown, drag out. If there's a fight or two that breaks out, all right, fine. But I know in Stanley Cup playoffs, the referees really kind of don't like to see a fight break out, which is, fair enough, because, you want to see the best players out there. Regular season, they'll let you fight all you want. But in Cup playoffs, it's a shorter leash. They will stop it on a dime if they need to. They will not let you fight in the Cup playoff. But man, I mean, you could sense it. You can sense that you can sense the chippiness, it's getting there, man, and I'm starting to like it, man. This is going to be a fun series.
Absolutely. And whenever Colorado and Detroit used to get together back in the 90s and the 2000s, you knew it was going to be me and MF on the call for that. So who knows? We'll see you down the road. But all right, Michael Bullock, sorry about that, but I wanted to address that elephant in the room that MF mentioned. So, all right, LA and Vegas, Bullock, who you got?
Oh, no doubt about it. I got to go with the Vegas Golden Knights here. I mean, what a story this is. Their first year as a franchise, and I never would have thought that they would be in the Stanley Cup playoffs. But, man, I mean, this is just an awesome run, and I think it's just going to continue. So, yeah, there's really nothing more that needs to be said. Vegas Golden Knights win, so let's just move right along.
The Vegas Golden Knights are one of the most successful expansion teams in sports history, let alone in the NHL. They blew past the previous high point total for an expansion team to become the first one to break 100 points. They set records for home and road wins, and of course, they became the first expansion team to ever win a division title as a team from the desert ruled the Pacific. Of course, LA struggled to maintain their dynastic pace for the past 3 seasons, missing the playoffs in 2 of them and going out in the first round in the other. That cost Coach Daryl Sutter his job after the 2016-17 season. And lo and behold, half the roster found its smile again under John Stevens, in particular center Anze Kopitar, who followed his worst season with his best. First line advantage goes to Vegas. We had one wonders exactly how many edible arrangements the Florida Panthers and Columbus Blue Jackets received from Vegas general manager George McPhee for their contributions to one of the most dominant top lines in the league. Jonathan Marchessault, Riley Smith, and William Karlsson had a plus 141 in Corsi differential and a plus 23 in goal differential at even strength. Karlsson was third in the NHL with 43 goals. The constants on the Kings' top line are Kopitar, a Hart Trophy candidate, and Dustin Brown, who's at a career high in points. They'll likely play with Tanner Pearson. Depth, I got to give that to Vegas as well. The scoring balance on the Golden Knights has been one of their greatest virtues this season, with strong seasons from Eric Howla, James Neal, David Perron, and Alex Tuch. They're still waiting on deadline pickup Tomas Tatar to contribute more than 6 points in 20 games. The Kings played most of the season without Jeff Carter, who was roared back with 18 points in 21 games since returning. LA has minimal goal-scoring depth beyond that, although Tyler Toffoli and Adrian Kemp stand out in comparison with the rolling waves of offense from Vegas. Defense, I got to give the advantage to LA. I mean, this conversation, of course, begins with Drew Doughty. 60 points on the season and skating almost 27 minutes a game. He's a game changer, the likes the Golden Knights do not possess. Doughty has been paired with several defensemen this season, but his most effective partner remains Jake Muzzin, Alec Martinez, and Dion Phaneuf are the second pairing. With the latter failing to really regain form after his trade to the Kings, the Knights have seen good play out of Nate Schmidt and Braden McNabb, and okay play out of Derek Engelland and Shea Theodore. Otherwise, they've dealt in volume. 8 defenders have played 30 or more games. Goaltending, I'm sorry, MF, I got to call even here. Aren't you forgetting about Jonathan Quick, who won his second Jennings Trophy for contributing to his team's NHL best 246 goals against this year? But it's another number worth paying attention to here. 921, which is career save percentage in the playoffs, even with an 886 flop in his last playoff season, 2015-16. Marc-Andre Fleury, meanwhile, mended his tattered playoff reputation with a 924 performance in 15 games during Pittsburgh's run last year. He has been remarkable for the Knights this season with 29 wins in 46 games and a 927 save percentage. So it's a draw in goaltending. Special teams, I got to go to LA. The Golden Knights had the NHL's 11th best power play at 21.4% efficiency, while the Kings were 17th at 20.4. Vegas was a shade better at home. Well, obviously, it has the advantage this series. Vegas was 14th in power play chances with 248, while the Kings had 240. On the penalty kill, Kings led the NHL at 85% effectiveness, while the Knights were 10th at 81.4%. LA didn't see much drop-off in its road penalty kill efficiency. Coaching, got to go to Vegas. John Stevens hasn't coached in the postseason since the 08-09 season with Philadelphia, but he did have the helm for a 17-game run the previous season. Gerard Gallant was in the playoffs just once with the Panthers in 2015-16 for 6. The Golden Knights coach gets the nod here, if only because 9 out of 10 buttons he has pressed this season have worked. Health-wise, it's Vegas. They had a few injury bumps in the past few weeks, but defenseman Lucas Savisa is the only question mark for the first round. The Kings, meanwhile, are concerned about the health of defensemen Jake Muzzin and Derek Forbort, with the latter looking like he might miss the first round. And depth forward Torrey Mitchell also recently missed time. So Vegas wins the series. It's going to go 7. I 100% agree with MF. So there's really nothing left to say here. Let's go into our final Stanley Cup playoff series. The Anaheim Ducks and the San Jose Sharks squaring off in the other Pacific Division matchup. Michael Bullock, let's start it with you here. Who do you like between the Ducks and the Sharks?
Oh, I'm sorry. What matchup were we talking about?
Anaheim and San Jose, Bullock.
All right, Anaheim and San Jose. Excuse me. Yeah, when it comes to this series, I mean, I think this could also be something that could be really good here. Of course, well, San Jose basically took charge in the first game of that series, winning it. So this is a tough one for me to call. But I mean, I like San Jose, but I also like Anaheim. But this is tough. But I think San Jose. I think they'll win, but I think it's going to go the full 7 games. So that's pretty much all I can say on it. So Florio, it is yours.
Yeah. The Anaheim Ducks are a playoff team. It was expected before the season, but perhaps not in this fashion. Ryan Getzlaf was limited to 56 games and Ryan Kessler to 44, with other players limited by ailments, and goalie John Gibson carried the Ducks to the postseason with 60 starts. Before, of course, he was injured near the end of the season. San Jose is a playoff team, as they have been for every season, with the exception since 2003. Their offense was up from last season, but their defense was a bit leakier than last season. Both teams made significant trades this season, with the Ducks flipping defenseman Sammy Vatanen to the Devils for Adam Henrique on November 30, and the Sharks acquiring winger Evander Kane from Buffalo at the trade deadline. And this particular battle of California has happened only once before in 08-09, when the Ducks won in 6 in the first round. First line, advantage Ducks unless Jumbo is healthy. Getzlaf, Corey Perry, and Rick Reichel have generated 25 even-strength goals in 43 games together, surrendering 18. And while Perry isn't nearly the sniper he once was, where Raquel had 34 goals this season, the Sharks have made a lot of line salad this season due to injuries and ineffectiveness. And based on ice time, Joe Pavelski and trade deadline pickup Evander Kane would be the top pair. Their best partner has been Joonas Donskoi, who just returned to the lineup after a mid-March injury. Their best partner would be Joe Thornton, who was working his way back from an injury that's limited him to 47 games. Depth, I got to go with the Ducks. Logan Couture set a career high in goals, ably assisted by Tomas Hertl, and with regularity by Mikael Boedker. The Sharks have gotten good depth scoring from Timo Meyer, Chris Tierney, and Kevin LeBlanc. And the Ducks have a strong second line with Andrew Cogliano, Ryan Kessler, and Jacob Silverberg, and a more effective third line with Nick Ritchie, Adam Henrique, and Andre Cassi. The latter two scored 20 goals this year. Defense, advantage San Jose. Brent Burns, his shooting percentage fell off a cliff this season, resulting in just 12 goals, but his 67 points put him third in the NHL among defensemen. He's reunited with Paul Martin, who toiled in the AHL before taking over Joakim Ryan's spot in the lineup late in the season. Marc-Edouard Vlasic and Justin Braun have been uncharacteristically ineffective at times this season, skating to a -3 goal differential and a -707 in relative Corsi. Brendan Dillon and Dylan DeMello round out the group. The Ducks are ranked by Hampus Lindholm and Josh Manson with a +20 goal differential. Brendan Montour and Francois Boisheman have been frequent partners and might need to be again after Cam Fowler's injury. Goaltending, Ducks get the nod here. Martin Jones has a .914 even strength save percentage in 60 games, and Aaron Dell nearly swiped his job earlier this year. His playoff history and his underlying postseason numbers tell two different stories. John Gibson was outstanding this season, .927 even strength save percentage, despite the highest work rate of his career. Injured late in the year, but is expected to be ready for the postseason. If he was not, Ryan Miller was a capable replacement. Special teams, Sharks get the edge here. Despite their firepower, the Sharks have had a middling power play for the past 2 years, finishing number 15 this season. The Ducks were 8 spots worse. The Sharks, however, drew 43 more power plays than the Ducks. And on the penalty kill, the Sharks were second in the NHL at almost 85%, while the Ducks were fifth at 83%. Coaching edge is even. Peter DeBoer's third trip to the postseason with San Jose. He coached both San Jose and New Jersey to the Stanley Cup Finals and has a .556 playoff winning percentage. Randy Carlyle coached the Ducks to the conference finals last season, which went a long way to getting the Toronto stink off of him. Health-wise, San Jose, Cam Fowler gone for 2 to 6 weeks with a shoulder injury. Impactful loss for the Ducks. He's their ice time leader at 25 minutes and is the team's second leading scorer on the blue line with 32 points. John Gibson's recent injury is a worry as well. Veteran defenseman Kevin Bieksa remains out after hand surgery. For the Sharks, the only main concern is Joe Thornton. But nonetheless, this series is going 7. And after what I saw last night, no question about it, I like the San Jose Sharks in this series. It's going the distance. San Jose in 7. Doc, what says you? San Jose, Anaheim? I got the Sharks in 7.
This one's going to be an interesting series. I definitely believe that, San Jose on paper is definitely the better team. The Evander Kane trade definitely is proven to be a big blessing in disguise, especially after the 2-goal performance that he had just a night ago. And now they get to play, I believe, tomorrow. So we're going to have to wait and see what happens. But yeah, this has been a very interesting series, a great game. That definitely could be a very interesting series. I think it will go 7. I do agree with you, Anthony. I got the San Jose Sharks winning as well. So, Michael Bullock, I give it to you. Well, actually, is it on to the NBA?
Yep, NBA playoffs now. Yes. MF, keep your mic on. We're going to start it with you here. Well, actually, no, it's me. I'm sorry. So, yes. So, I'm not gonna go by the book here. I'm not gonna go, all the East, all the West. I'm gonna go in the order of the games here and how they tip off. And what a way to start it off with perhaps the series of the Western Conference. The San Antonio Spurs and the Golden State Warriors. Oof. My goodness. This is gonna be one hell of a series. No doubt about this. All right, let's dive in. Yes, there will be some star power missing here. These two teams met in the Western Conference Finals last season, and they're going to meet in the first round. Spurs will be seeking their 6th title in 20 years without Kawhi Leonard, who missed all but 9 games this year with tendinopathy in his right quad. Stephen Curry is going to be missing this series with a sprained left MCL. Both perennial stars will be out for this series. Golden State won the regular season series in 3-1, winning both games at home. I mean, what the Warriors lack in playoff win quantity, they make up for in quality. Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant, Draymond Green, and Andre Iguodala. The Spurs still feature 2 of the greatest winners the league has ever seen in Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker. combining for 131 wins, equaling the most of any tandem in history. But there's nothing more to say here. I mean, this to me is the best series of the first round. But at the end of the day, I have to go with the Golden State Warriors. I wouldn't be surprised if this thing goes to distance. I wouldn't. So maybe even 6, but nonetheless, I like the Golden State Warriors in the series. So MF, I'm gonna consider you the Jeff Van Gundy to my Mike Breen here. This is where you're gonna be the shiner here. So San Antonio, Golden State, no doubt about it. This is the series of the West right here.
This is the series of the West, but the biggest problem that Golden State is going to have is that there is no Steph Curry. However, you still got Kevin Durant, you still got Draymond Green, you still got Klay Thompson, so you still got some sharp shooters, and you really got some great players on that team. For San Antonio, no Kawhi Leonard, and that's a major problem. He was the guy who single-handedly was killing the Golden State Warriors a year ago in the playoffs before the injury happened. Now, you can say whatever you want to say about the way he got hurt and, the timing of the injury, because a lot of people felt like, San Antonio was well on their way of winning that series. They were dominating game 1, and then the injury occurred, and that basically ended any hope or any dreams of San Antonio winning that series. It changed the complexion of the series as we knew it. Now, we're going to have to wait and see. And, there's been a lot of drama in San Antonio, especially with Kawhi Leonard and the whole 9 yards going into this season. But now you got to think that with the postseason on, Greg Popovich, one of the biggest master motivators in the NBA, and I mean, he's done it all. Definitely, in my opinion, one of the greatest coaches in NBA history. And, Steve Kerr has done a tremendous job with the Golden State Warriors. I truly believe this is going to go 7 games, but I do have Golden State advancing to the next round of the playoffs. Michael Bullock, I give it to you.
Yeah, I got Golden State winning the series. I mean, I think it's going to go 7 games as well. I mean, I think not having Steph Curry is going to hurt them a little bit, but you still got Kevin Durant, you still got Draymond Green, you still got Klay Thompson and all those other offensive weapons. But, I mean, the San Antonio Spurs team led by Greg Popovich, I mean, I think they could give them a hard time, but in the end, Golden State, I think, will win this series. Floyer, what's yours?
And we move on to our next series here. Michael Bullock. MF. MF will start it off. It's going to be the Washington Wizards squaring off against the Toronto Raptors. MF. I mean, Toronto. Finishing with the best record in the East, squaring off against Washington. Many consider Toronto the favorite to represent the East, but I think we might have some second thoughts about that, especially after a certain team that's been trusting the process lately.
Exactly. No doubt about it. Well, first off, Toronto should win this series. First off, no John Wall, major problem there. And you got a really good Toronto team. Kyle Lowry, with all the weapons that they have on the team. I got to say it. Sam Mitchell, who's the coach for Toronto, unbelievable job. I'm going to say it. He's my coach of the year. He's my coach of the year for this season, even though I know a lot of people may disagree with that. And, there's an easy argument for it. But no, Toronto is definitely leaps and bounds the better team. I got them winning this series in 6 games. I think Washington's good enough to at least steal 2 of the games. I think they could win the middle series. So I think they'll go 2-0. They'll get back to 2-2. Toronto wins game 5, and then they slam the door in 6. They just got too much firepower, to say the very least, for this to go anything more than that. So for me, Toronto wins in 6. Michael Bullock, I give it to you.
Yeah, I agree. I got Toronto winning this one in 6 as well. I mean, Toronto's looking really good here. Yeah, not having John Wall is going to make the task much tougher for the Wizards. So, yeah, I mean, there's really nothing else that needs to be said. So, Toronto wins in 6. Florio, it is yours.
Toronto wins if they just continue doing what they've done all season. The Raptors have been the best team in the East all season long. Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan have done their usual work, and the bench has been spectacular. As long as they trust in what has gotten them here and don't revert to bad habits when things get tough, they should be fine. Washington wins if the quote-unquote playoff Raptors show up and John Wall plays like an all-star. Toronto has had a habit in the past of no showing in the playoffs. If Lowry and DeRozan aren't up to their usual best, the Raptors bench isn't ready for the moment, then the Wizards are talented enough to make this a series. But they'll need John Wall to step up and play like the all-star version of himself. So, nothing more to say here. I agree. The Toronto Raptors win this series. 6 games, I think that's about right. So, let's move on now to our next series. The Miami Heat squaring off against the Philadelphia 76ers. Michael Bullock, let's kick this one off with you here. Philadelphia closing the regular season, winning 16 in a row. Gee, I wonder who number 1 in our power rankings are going to be. But who do you like in this series nonetheless?
Who's Philadelphia playing?
Miami Heat.
Yeah, I got Philadelphia winning this series. I mean, this team is carrying a lot of momentum. I mean, like you said, with that long winning streak, that 16-game winning streak to close out the season. I mean, this team is definitely riding high, and I mean, Miami could give them some fits, but to me, in the end, Philadelphia, I think, will win this series. I can't believe I'm saying this, but earlier this week, on First Take, Stephen A. Smith even went so far as to say Philadelphia is going to make the Eastern Conference Finals. I mean, that's a bold statement there, but we'll just have to wait and see. But I'm really like what I'm seeing from this team, and yeah, there's nothing more that needs to be said. Philadelphia wins the series. Florio, it's yours.
I'm going to give you a bold prediction in just a minute. 76ers win if the 76ers can carry their momentum from the regular season into the playoffs. Then they're going to be a dangerous team in these playoffs. They finished the regular season on a 16-game winning streak. Joel Embiid, if healthy, and Ben Simmons are one of the most dynamic duos in the NBA. They have the 3rd best defense and 4th best net rating in the NBA. They're an easy favorite. Miami wins if the Heat haven't always been consistent, but their depth gives them a lot of versatility. Miami can gain an advantage if they control the pace, forcing Philadelphia to play slow and use their bench as an advantage. A lot of teams shorten up their rotation in the playoffs. The Heat don't have to do that. They can adjust to whatever Philadelphia is running and counter that. Nonetheless, I got Philadelphia winning this series. I think they'll win this maybe in about 5 or 6 games. But I'm going to give you a bold prediction right now. Based on what I've seen over the last couple of weeks, I think the Philadelphia 76ers have just emerged as a serious threat to the Toronto Raptors. And if they match up with Boston in the second round, I think they can definitely take Boston out, especially without Kyrie Irving. But nonetheless, if you want a bold prediction, I'll give you a bold prediction. I think this team has what it takes to go to the finals. Maybe not win it all, but I like their chances to go to represent the East in the NBA Finals for the first time since 2001. So that's my bold prediction. I think Philadelphia is going to represent the East. So nothing more to say. MF, Miami, and Philly.
I got Philly. No, I got Philly. This is easy for me. I know a couple of people, Lisa Medeiros and my friend Tally will probably give me a little bit of some grief with this, but because they're both Miami Heat fans, I'm sorry. Miami just does not have the firepower to hang with the Philadelphia 76ers. Markelle Fultz is starting to look like, he's starting to fall in line with the team. Ben Simmons, I know some people are thinking he should be the Rookie of the Year. I disagree. I'll give you my pick for Rookie of the Year a little bit later on because it represents the West. Philly's been unbelievable. They trusted the process, and it's starting to come together at the right time. And look out, guys! Philly is back. They're back. They look strong. They haven't been like this in, like you said, in ages. This could be one of those years, you know. I mean, Philadelphia sports, man, they've been having one heck of a year if you think about it. The Eagles wins the Super Bowl. The Villanova, which is a Philadelphia-based school, had won the NCAA college basketball tournament. Now Philly's looking really hot. So I mean, this could be the year Philly really does some damage, man. I gotta say it. They really are starting to look really good. They're really strong. I like the team as is. So yeah, I agree. Philadelphia 76ers wins the series. I'll go as far to say in 5 games. So nothing more to say. Let's move on.
Yeah, I'm leaning towards Philly in 6 now, and our final first round series that starts tomorrow. How about this interesting matchup? The New Orleans Pelicans squaring off against the Portland Trailblazers. I believe I start this one off here. So, man alive. Yeah, this is an interesting series here. No question about it. And I gotta be honest. This is a toss up. This is a toss up for me. Hold on a minute. Okay. I mean, 2 years ago, the Blazers went to the second round by taking advantage of an LA Clippers team that lost Chris Paul and Blake Griffin to injuries. And this time they get the Pelicans without DeMarcus Cousins. Very interesting. I think it's going to go the distance. This is a series with 2 massive stars leading otherwise ordinary teams that are capable of streaking in either direction. It all depends on how Davis and Lillard impact the series, but also the defense for Portland and 3-point shooting for New Orleans. In addition to other factors, assuming that CJ McCollum and Holiday bring their usual consistency, the situation begs for an unexpected hero, be it Etuan Moore or Evan Turner or Nikola Mirotic. The Blazers are a bit deeper and hold home court advantage, and those could be the difference makers in a matchup that's hopelessly even, allowing the Blazers to prevent Rip City from becoming RIP City. So, tough to call, but I'm going with the Portland Trail Blazers. I say it goes the distance. I say it goes all 7, but I got to go with Portland winning it. So, MF, what says you?
If they would have had DeMarcus Cousins and Anthony Davis together, this would have been an open and shut case. I would have gone with the Pelicans. Because of that, I love CJ McCollum, Damian Lillard. This is a deadly 1-2 combo. I'm with you, Anthony. Portland wins in 7. Bullet, go.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I got to go with Portland, and I think this is going to go 7 games as well. So nothing more to say. Let's just move right along, Florio.
And MF leads off on the first series that will tip off on Sunday afternoon. The Milwaukee Bucks squaring off against the Boston Celtics. MF, I mean, the Celtics without Kyrie Irving, are they going to have their hands full with the Greek Freak? MF? He might be preoccupied again. You know what? I think it's only fitting that Michael Bullock starts this off because he is our port authority on the Celtics after all. So, Bullock, I mean, your Celtics, they're going to have their hands full with Giannis Antetokounmpo, especially without Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, they're going to have. I mean, it's going to be a challenge for them with no Kyrie Irving against the Greek Freak. This is this has the makings of it going the full 7 games. Can it happen? We'll just have to wait and see. I mean, it's a tough one to call, but somehow I think the Celtics. To me, I think they'll win the series, but I think this is going the distance. This is going the full 7 games here, so there's nothing really more for me to say. So I'm just gonna give it to you, Florio.
Yeah, this series promises to be relatively ugly with close games. It'll be strength versus strength on the Bucks end of the floor. The transition defense obviously being a huge key for the Celtics. Transition defense begins with offensive execution, so Boston will need to take care of the ball and seek the layups that the Milwaukee defense will yield. They should be able to do that just enough to move on to the conference semifinals. If Kyrie Irving was around, this would have been an open and shut series, but without him, and considering how much of a beast Antetokounmpo is, I could easily call upset here. I really could. But at the end of the day, I'm going to go with the Celtics. But I think it's going to go the distance, like Bullock said. I think the Celtics will win it in 7. So I don't know what else there is to say except MF. Celtics, they're going to have their hands full with the Greek Freak.
Yeah, they're gonna have their hands full with the Greek Freak, but I think defensively Boston is just a lot more better than a lot of people will talk about, because they're actually a top 10 defense. They're actually ranked 8 in defense this season. So I mean, I really like what they bring to the table. I think they're definitely going to be a very compelling matchup. Yes, any other time I probably would have said easily that it would have been a easy decision to make, and I would call victory for this would have been an easy series if Kyrie Irving would have been there. I could have said at least easily in 5, but because of that, yeah, the door definitely does open for not only a 7-game series, but you could easily make an argument that it could swing the other way. Boston could go out in the first round because of the with the play and everything going on. So yes, you're absolutely right. This is a dangerous series, a dangerous game, no doubt about it. And for me, Boston will win it, but it's not going to be as easy as we all thought initially. So give it to me in 7. Yes, you're right, Anthony. Nothing more to say, and that's it. So it's all yours.
Yep, and we move on to our next series, the Indiana Pacers squaring off against the Cleveland Cavaliers. I'm going to give this one to MF here since he was supposed to go on the last one but got delayed and Bullock had to start. So MF, Indiana, the upstart Pacers, reward for an upstart season, a date with the 3-time defending conference champs. Ouch.
Yeah, and the thing is, you got LeBron, you got Kevin Love. As long as they're healthy, I think this is an open and shut case, no doubt about it. I actually do have the Cleveland Cavaliers advancing. I think Indiana, maybe they steal a game, but I just don't see them stealing 4 to win a series. I got Cleveland slamming the door on them pretty handily in 5. I got really nothing more to say. So Michael Bullock, yeah, it's yours.
Yeah, I got the Cleveland Cavaliers winning the series too. I mean, Fletch pretty much touched on it, so let's just move right along to Florio.
As someone in October predicted Cavs and Pacers as a first round series, I might have expected number 1 versus number 8, not number 4 versus number 5. Frankly, we might have scoffed because the expectations for Indiana were so low. But these two clubs wound up separated by just 2 games in the standings, which ought to give Indiana confidence. Confidence is great too until LeBron James punches you in the mouth again. So nothing more to say. I got Cleveland winning this series. I say they win it in 6 games. And now we move on to our next series, which is the Utah Jazz squaring off against the Oklahoma City Thunder. And man, superstar guards are going to take center stage in this series. Russell Westbrook and Mitchell, Donovan Mitchell, the rookie. I mean, Oy. This is as fair a fight as you'd expect from a number 4 versus number 5 matchup. The Thunder have more star power, though. That didn't always serve them well during a trying regular season. But the Jazz boast the sort of chemistry every team wishes it had, with everyone playing their specific role to perfection and excelling in a system that has been good to whoever buys in. The chess match between Jazz coach Quinn Snyder and Thunder coach Billy Donovan should be interesting in a series that is truly a toss-up. I'm going with the Oklahoma City Thunder. 7 games. You can make it. Well, this is to me this maybe the number 2 series in the West, behind San Antonio and Golden State. So really nothing left for me to say. I got Oklahoma. I got OKC in 7, but don't be surprised if Utah ends up stealing it. So nothing more to say. MF, Utah, OKC. What a series this is going to be. I got OKC in 7.
Yeah, this is going to be a really tough series. This is going to be interesting to watch. The X factor in the series, I got to say, Carmelo Anthony. He really needs to step up. You know, normally there's always that he always has that hiccup during the postseason that he never really delivers in the clutch, or it doesn't have a big successful run in the postseason. It's going to be fun to see this series. This is going to be one of those series that's going to be exciting to watch, and I'm gonna say this is the most compelling series for me. This is the one that I have the most vested interest in going in. So I think it's gonna be a great series. Nothing more to say about that. At the end of the day, I gotta go with Oklahoma City to win it, but I would not be shocked if Utah steals this series. It's gonna go 7. This is gonna be a fun series, guys. This is my series that I'm gonna keep a very close eye on. But again, like I said, I got Oklahoma City winning. Michael Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, I got OKC winning this one as well. The Fletch pretty much touched on everything, so I'm just going to move right along to Florio.
In our final first round series, we got the best team in the league, the Houston Rockets, squaring off against the Minnesota Timberwolves. MF, I think we all know who's going to win this series. It shouldn't even be close.
I could see at least 5 games. I think Minnesota will at least steal one of the games here. But yeah, you're too strong, too powerful with James Harden, possibly the most valuable player in the league. I believe he should be the MVP of the league. I don't know if he'll get it or not, because I know there's a lot of people think that LeBron deserves it. Which, you know, I can't make an argument. I can't disagree if LeBron doesn't deserve it. I mean, he's been unbelievable this season, but I think James Harden is the one that should win the MVP this year. He has definitely been the most valuable player in the league in my eyes, and I think it's going to be an easy series for them. I think Minnesota is about a year or 2 away. I think they're about a year or 2 away before they make noise in the West. But right now, they were very fortunate to make it in a winner take all play and get in when they meet the Denver Nuggets. And now we're gonna have to wait and see what they do. But at the end of the day, I'm happy with the way that this turned out. So yeah, I think Houston should win this easily, put them away in 5 games. Michael Bullock, it's yours.
Yeah, I agree. I think Minnesota's about a year or 2 away from getting where they want to be. So so I mean, it's good to see them back in the playoffs, but the thing is, yeah, I mean, I agree with everything Fletch said. So there's really nothing more for me to say. So Florio, it's yours.
The Rockets didn't grind the way they did all season to stumble out of the gate. They are the cream of the crop this season, and they're eager to prove as much against a Timberwolves team that will put up a fight. But the T-Wolves would have to transform into something other than the flawed crew that needed 5 extra minutes on the season's final night just to make the playoffs. But nonetheless, I got the Houston Rockets winning the series as well. 5 games. That's all there is to say there. Gentlemen, I took the time to do the NBA power rankings. I know it's getting late, and I maybe just call rapid fire here. And I actually took the time to compile my power rankings beforehand, and we'll see if you guys agree with it. But nonetheless, I'm gonna start it off at number 10 with a tie, and only one tie. The Toronto Raptors and the Milwaukee Bucks. Both teams 6-4 in their last 10 games. They lost their last game out. Toronto, of course, will go up against Washington. Milwaukee against Boston in the first round. So those are my number 10s. My number 9 is the Boston Celtics, 6-4 in their last 10 games. They won their last game, albeit against the dud Brooklyn Nets, but they go up against Milwaukee, like I said. They should win that series in 7 games. So they came in at number 9. My number 8, I believe this is where I had my list. Number 8 was the Minnesota Timberwolves, 6-4 in their last 10 games, winners of 3 in a row. Number 7, I had the New Orleans Pelicans, 6-4 in their last 10, winners of 5 in a row. So they came in at number 7. Number 6, I had the Denver Nuggets, 7-3 in their last 10 games, lost their last game. Number 5, Utah Jazz, 7-3 in their last 10, lost their last game out. Number 4, Indiana Pacers. They were 7-3 in their last 10, lost their last game out. Number 3, Cleveland Cavaliers, 7-3 in their last 10, lost their last game out. Number 2, Houston Rockets, same thing, 7-3, lost their last game out. But of course, number 1, hands down, Philadelphia 76ers, 16 in a row. Is there anything else that needs to be said about that? So gentlemen, I ask, do you agree with those rankings, or do you have things a little differently?
I agree with you, Florio.
You know what? I even agree with the tie, and you know me, I don't really like ties, but I think the tie at number 10 is definitely spot on, well deserved, and all the others are definitely easy calls. Yeah, no doubt about it. I guess the only team that I would give we always like to give honorable mentions, on this, yes, on it, but hold on, but the only team that would get an honorable mention in my eyes, a team that unfortunately, even though they got a losing record, you gotta admit that they did pretty well, at least at the end. Two honorable mention. Well, yeah, the honorable mention for me would have been the Detroit Pistons. Even though, yeah, they flamed out, but 7-3. And they did win their last game of the season. I mean, that's not bad at all. Definitely something to look forward to next year. And the other team that I would tip my cap to, rough way to go out, is the Denver Nuggets. But it's like we said, it was a win and you're in. That was the Minnesota Timberwolves versus Denver Nuggets. Minnesota won. They got through. And Denver, unfortunately, was on the outside looking in. But as far as the power rankings goes, that's perfect. No complaints.
Alrighty. So that's it. That puts the bow on this edition of Strictly Sports. We want to thank you all so very much for tuning in. We're going to get into our quick shout-outs here. So whoever wants it, take it.
I guess I'll lead off. I guess I'll lead off. I was thinking Bullock was going to take it, but I'll lead off. First off, I want to say thank you to all the great fans out there for making the show as amazing as it is. You guys are the best fans in the world. To the super fans out there, you guys know who you guys are. Friends from the junior high and high school days, love you guys to death. 2184 crew, you guys are awesome as always. And that is it, guys. So for me, have a good night. You know the routine, hug the hand pounds. I'm out. So long for now. Have a good night, everybody. Mike Bullock, now it's your turn.
All right. Of course, shout outs to all of our tremendous fans and viewers out there who continue to support our shows, whether it's this or the Wrestling Forum. It doesn't matter. We really appreciate it. We thank you all so very much for tuning in. Shout outs to our friends from our high school days. You guys know who you guys are. To all the super fans out there, you guys know who you guys are. To our personalities from 6, 10, and 12, and our personalities from ESPN, Fox Sports, MLB Network, NHL Network, NBA TV, and all the other networks out there. And, of course, our friends from the Roadshow, of course, former co-host Mary Larson and Megan Mooney, and, of course, to Will Gilbert, Brendan Kirby, and Michaela Johnson. So that's pretty much going to do it for me. So until Monday night for Ridiculously Raw, where it'll be night one of the Superstar Shakeup. This is Mike Bullock saying thank you all so very much for tuning in. Of course, you know the routine. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah, throw it up Fortune 4 style. Bye for now. Florio, take us home.
Yeah, we'll do, Bullock. Of course, special shout outs to all of our tremendous fans and viewers out there who continue to make our shows as over as they are. We appreciate it as always. You are the best fans in the world. Special shout outs to Dee Dee Woodson, Kevin Woodson and the Woodson family, Matt Ward, Jason Hicksonbaugh, Daniel Luttrell from the UK, our other first ladies, Kaiser Butler, Megan Silva and Lexi Calloway, and of course our crew members, Tommy Souza, Eric Carrier, Jimmy Alden, Alfred Anderson, and Rob Parsons, and of course the man himself, Derek Ferreira. Of course, all of our personalities from 6, 10, and 12, and ESPN, FS1, MLB Network, NHL Network, NBA TV, NFL Network, the whole 9 yards. Chantel McKay from the Golf Channel, Lindsay McCormick, Stata Sorrell, my friends from the Roadshow, Will Gilbert, Brendan Kirby, Michaela Johnson, former co-host Megan Mooney, Mary Larson, and of course, last but not least, my wonderful friends and church family over at Oasis of Grace Ministries on 464 Silver Spring Street in Providence. If you need a church home, check them out. Exit 25 off Route 95. Sunday morning at 9, Bible study. A little after 10, Sunday morning service. Wednesday night at 7, Bible study. Other things going on. And that's it. Of course, Monday night, we have Ridiculously Raw. Night one of the Superstar Shakeup, like Bullock said. Hartford Civic Center in Hartford. I'm taking a wild guess. We're probably not going to be doing a show on Tuesday night because we're going to have a long night ahead of us. Because myself, Bullock, and MF, along with Megan Silva and company, we're going to be headed to the Dunkin' Donuts Center for SmackDown Live, the second night of the Superstar Shakeup. We'll have to wait word from MF as to what the status of the Cerebral Smack Talk will be. I'm not sure. I don't think we're going to be doing a show on Tuesday night. I wouldn't be surprised if we end up pushing that thing back to Wednesday. In all honesty. And then, of course, next Friday night, Strictly Sports. MLB Power Rankings, I know that for sure. And I don't know what else Derek will have for us on the docket. He'll probably have the docket like late Monday night, early Tuesday morning. I don't know. We'll see. So that's it. So until Monday night for Ridiculously Raw, it's your ridiculously over good brother Anthony Floyo here for Michael Bullock. And in spirit, good old MF, Michael Fletcher, Dee Dee Woodson, and Derek Ferreira. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah, throw it up 44 style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed weekend. Enjoy all the Stanley Cup and NBA playoff action. And until Monday night for Ridiculously Raw, you've been watching Strictly Sports right here on the Zone 25 on YouTube.com. For everybody who's been a part of this one, now, Anthony Floyo. So long.